The story kicks off with these giant, sinister pillars popping up out of nowhere. With that, barriers are erected, and a beam of purple light shoots up into the sky. But monsters known as disaster beasts have invaded the human world. These creatures of all kinds began to attack humanity. In the midst of the massacre, the boy's father yells at him to run and save himself. Chaos took over the streets as people ran for their lives. Suddenly, a blue, flamed monster turns towards the little boy. The creature then launches a fire attack in his and his mother's direction. She sacrifices herself to protect him, and with her last words, tells him to run. After that, our protagonist, Itsuki, wakes up from this nightmare to someone calling his name. A pink-haired girl asks what happened, but he just says it was nothing. She keeps looking at him, a bit suspicious, and asks if he's sure. Then she notices a tear on his face and asks why he's crying. A friend comes over to help and points to a teacher in a seriously weird outfit. The master begins a speech about the Awakened and a war from 10 years ago. His classmate questions why Itsuki doesn't know Commander Mendo Izumi. Right after, he explains that this commander was the very first Awakened of all. On top of that, he's the strongest and trained one of humanity's most famous heroes. The teacher reveals that normal people can awaken just by touching a monolith. From there, he says that everyone present will become awakened to fight in the war. Faced with the situation, a giant monolith begins to rise from the arena floor. The students go wild with excitement at the chance to finally awaken. The protagonist's friend nudges him excitedly, and Itsuki says the time has finally come. As the line forms, his classmate pulls him along so they don't get left behind. The pink-haired girl observes the grim expression on our hero's face. His eyes glow red as he says that the day has finally arrived. One by one, the students touch the monolith, but nothing happens to the first one. The other students get discouraged since the guy was an elite athlete. The line continues, and more students try their luck, but no one manages to awaken. Everyone starts to worry, thinking no one from their school will make the cut. The guard then calls the next in line, a guy named Hikaru Ushi. At this, the students get tense because the guy is a bully, and if he awakens, it's gonna spell trouble. Upon touching the monolith, a huge amount of blue lightning envelopes his body. A screen reveals his elementalist stats with a total of 12 points. The commander's assistant comments that his stats should be 5, but they're 12. Hikaru brags to the commander, thinking he's the first awakened of the day. Just then, someone pulls him by the shoulder to get him away from the monolith. The bully turns around furious and yells, telling him to get his hands off and asking if he wants to get wrecked. The crowd recognizes Itsuki cutting the line and already thinks he's a goner. The blue-haired woman feels the intense emotion coming from our protagonist. Itsuki touches the stone and thinks about how he'll never forget his hatred for the beasts. The commander notices that the boy's determination is different from the others. Right after, a giant blue entity appears behind our hero. An absurd amount of energy starts pouring out of the monolith, completely surrounding the young man. This same energy impressively expands throughout the entire arena. The other students are shocked by the flower of energy that spans hundreds of feet. His friends don't waste any time and start cheering and celebrating for him. The assistant reveals that this phenomenon only occurs with the rarest class, the Order Breaker. Faced with the situation, the bully Hikaru looks less than thrilled. Our protagonist then goes to a place in his mind and wonders if he has awakened. He sees himself sitting in the middle of a glowing blue lotus flower made of energy. A screen appears showing his class and a Z-rank skill called Overmimesis. But when he looks at his stats, he sees that all his attributes are at 0. Right after his gift, Nirvana activates and his stats shoot up to 800. Itsuki smiles confidently because now he can finally exterminate the beasts. Back in the real world, the light is so bright that everyone has to cover their eyes. Slowly, the light subsides, and the boy's silhouette appears in front of the monolith. Hikaru Oshi is in disbelief at what he just witnessed right in front of him. The blue-haired woman can't believe a rookie has such absurd stats. Therefore, the commander declares that he is the strongest awakened in history. Our hero's status screen shows all his attributes at 200. With that, the crowd goes wild, celebrating this historic achievement. But Hikaru gets furious, thinking the guy stole the glory that was his. He floats in the air surrounded by lightning and calls Itsuki a total loser. From there, the bully unleashes his new skill called Silver Serpent. The protagonist system detects the technique and activates his Overmimesis skill. As the attack approaches, the analysis of the enemy's skill progresses rapidly. The lightning strike hits the ground hard, but our hero is no longer there. Everyone wonders where he went, as he vanished in the blink of an eye. Right after, Itsuki appears behind Hikaru and grabs him by the head. He then whispers that the bully is lucky he's human, or he'd already be pushing up daisies. Our protagonist steps away as the boy falls to the ground, powerless. Itsuki notes that the analysis speed was high because it was a C-rank skill. The analysis reaches 100%, and he acquires the Thunder Wave skill. His friends see him glow again, and one of them jokes that it's a good thing he wore glasses. Our protagonist understands that he always goes to this place at the end of an analysis. The screen shows the details of his new skill and his stats, which have increased by another 10 points. Back in reality, Itsuki stares down at the bully, who is trembling on the ground. Hikaru is terrified and doesn't understand how the guy copied his skill. The other students comment that his lightning is way stronger. The protagonist can't believe his stats went up again. His total points now reach 840. Suddenly, the sky turns dark and a heavy rain begins to fall. Soon after, the students notice something coming towards them. It's a giant dark monolith falling right on top of the school. With that, the commander cancels the ceremony and tells the students to evacuate. He's sure that he's the target of this attack. His blue-haired assistant says they should run too, as fighting isn't their specialty. But the commander says that if they flee, everyone will panic. He then points to Itsuki, who hasn't moved, and praises him for his courage. While everyone runs in the opposite direction, our hero faces the monolith alone. The blue-haired woman wonders why he isn't running. The giant pillar crashes into the arena floor, kicking up a lot of dust. His friends scream for him to get out of there, because a disaster beast is coming. But Itsuki says with hatred that he will exterminate them all. Riku and the girl warn him that he's going to get himself wiped out since he's a rookie awakened. Our hero looks at his friend and asks her to trust him, making her blush. Riku pulls the girl away, yelling not to blame them if he kicks the bucket. Itsuki smiles menacingly as this is his first enemy as an awakened. Luckily for him, it's the same type of creature that finished off his parents. The screen reveals the skeleton soldier's stats, which total 295 points. With that, our protagonist prepares to test the skill he just learned. He charges head-on towards the monster, and the two collide with great force. Soon after, he shouts with determination that he won't let anyone else perish in front of him ever again. His lightning-covered fist lands a direct hit on the skeletal creature's chest. The impact is so strong that the skeleton soldier is sent flying, shattering into pieces. The assistant and her colleague are shocked that Itsuki sent the creature flying with a single blow, but the commander explains that despite the boy's strength, the skeleton has two pesky skills. One of them is bonefire, which burns the body of anyone who touches it to ashes. His friends scream in despair as they see our protagonist engulfed in blue flames. Meanwhile, the bully Hikaru laughs like a madman, thinking he's about to turn to ash. But inside the fire, the Overmimesis skill activates to analyze the enemy's ability. The blue-haired woman says that even a level 10 awakened would be done for with a hit like that. The commander laments that a genius like him might fall before he can grow, while our protagonist feels his body burning. In his mind, he relives the moment he saw his mother consumed by the same blue flames to save him. But Commander Mendo Izumi believes that Itsuki hasn't shown his full power yet, and that he has an ace up his sleeve. The skill analysis finally reaches 100%, and the young man says the skeleton is now finished. His friend despairs, thinking he was foolish to have hope, but suddenly the blue lotus flower appears again. Faced with the situation, our protagonist re-emerges from the flames, wondering what skill he'll learn this time. The system screen reveals the new skill Black Ice Wall, and all his stats have been healed and increased. Right after, he's transported to that mental space inside the large, glowing blue lotus flower. Floating there, he feels completely recovered and his power renewed for the battle that awaits. From there, his friends go nuts, celebrating because they can't believe he's alive and completely healed. The commander's assistant is shocked and wonders if he has a healing skill since his class is a mystery. She gets curious about the limits of this recovery and wonders if he could heal from even more severe injuries. Back in the arena, the skeleton soldier roars furiously, not understanding why its fire attack didn't work. At that moment, Itsuki reveals his new ability, covering his body with black ice armor and facing the flames. With that, the blue fire that once burned him now engulfs him without causing any damage, showcasing his new power. With this, his new ice armor combines with the lightning he copied earlier, making him much stronger. From there, he transforms the ice into a kind of dragon and charges full speed towards the skeleton soldier. Soon after, he creates a giant sword of ice and thunder to finally finish off the creature once and for all. The blow hits the skeleton square on, shattering it into pieces instantly without giving it a chance to react. His classmates are shocked at his speed, which looks more like teleportation because it was so fast. Even the assistant and the teacher are left speechless, wondering if our hero is really a rookie. His armor dissipates as they comment on his skill, which is versatile enough for both offense and defense. Right after, his friend Riku calls out to him to see if he's okay after all the chaos. Riku hugs him, relieved that he won, and our protagonist asks where Sayo is since he doesn't see her around. His classmate says she was right there, almost crying with worry, but suddenly disappeared, and he doesn't know where she went. Our hero looks at the crowd and wonders if the girl got mad at him for taking such a big risk in the fight. The blue-haired woman can't believe he defeated such a strong monster, and the commander tells her to clean up the mess. Riku says she probably went to touch the monolith, afraid of being left behind, and that there's no reason to worry. Suddenly, a mysterious voice calls Itsuki's name from behind, catching him by surprise. As he turns around, our protagonist comes face to face with Commander Mendo Izumi, who is staring at him with a serious expression. The other students watch from a distance and speculate whether the commander will train him, but they think it's impossible. Riku gets awkward with the tension in the air and says he's going to look for Sayo to get out of there as fast as possible. With that, the commander approaches our protagonist and says with a serious voice that he is quite special. Itsuki is a bit confused by the compliment and wonders what he means by the word special. Mendo Izumi explains that he can sense the young man's heart is completely filled with rage and hatred. From there, he says he wants to know the reason behind all this dark feeling the boy carries. Our hero then reveals that it all started 10 years ago when his parents were taken out by a disaster beast. A painful memory surfaces, showing his younger self crying in fear during that terrible attack. He says he almost bought the farm too, but an awakened appeared to save him right before his eyes. In her final moments, his mother told him to move forward and walk his own path alone. The little boy could only scream for his mother, completely desperate and not knowing what to do in that situation. He blamed himself for their passing, but soon that feeling of guilt transformed into an uncontrollable fury. At that moment, he saw the creature that was the root of all evil right in front of him and felt a deep hatred. His eyes glowed red as he swore to himself that one day he would get revenge for all of it. Back in the present, he finishes his story and promises with tears in his eyes that he will kill every single monster. The commander asks why he cries even with a heart full of hatred. Our hero explains that after the tragedy, only his right eye cries, making him never forget his hatred. Mendo Izumi invites him to be his student and join the Saviors League to get his revenge. He explains that it's a global organization with the strongest awakened to fight against the beasts. In addition, members called Saviors receive special training and high rewards every month. But he warns that this treatment isn't free, as the Saviors fight on the front lines to protect everyone. Our protagonist says he doesn't care about the rewards or resources, because what matters most to him is something else. With a determined look, he clenches his fist and shouts that he wants to become a savior to fight on the front lines. The commander explains that to do so, he needs to rank in the top 100 in a tournament with over 1,000 participants. Mendo Izumi says he's not much of a benchmark, but he'll tell him anyway. From there he reveals that the record is 115,000 points, set by Taiwajan 11 years ago. Itsuki recognizes the name of the hero known as the Light of Humanity, and the strongest awakened of all. The man says that comparing himself to him is foolish, but that our hero has the potential to stand side by side with the guy. Faced with the situation, our protagonist looks at him with confidence and declares that he will surpass the legendary Taiwajan. Upon hearing this bold declaration, a glimmer of surprise and interest appears in Commander Mendo Izumi's eyes. In a flashback, Taiwajan reflects that a new sun must rise to win the war against the beasts. Faced with the situation, Commander Mendo Izumi says that the sun he was waiting for has finally appeared. Our protagonist is taken to a different place and asks what that giant structure is. Mendo Izumi explains that the stone monuments are like gateways to the world of the disaster beasts. Because of this, if only the creatures are killed without destroying the portal, more of them will keep coming. That building is a facility to isolate the monuments and serves as a training ground for the awakened. Itsuki asks if it's a training facility and the commander confirms, calling it a stage. He warns that the beasts there are quite strong and that the place is known as the Rookie Graveyard. Right after, he mentions that even Taiwajan as a rookie took 3 minutes and 14 seconds to pass. The man reminds him that he said he would surpass the hero, so he challenges him to finish in 3 minutes. Thus, he makes a proposal and says that if the young man succeeds, he will officially make him his student. As they enter the building, people recognize the commander and wonder who the rookie with him is. Our protagonist is a bit surprised by everyone's reaction and wonders if the guy is that famous. A screen shows that the level of the beasts there is 10, and Itsuki wonders how strong that really is. A crowd forms and starts speculating about the young man, with some thinking he's just a pretty face. Our protagonist goes to the reception desk and says he wants to enter the stage, and the woman asks how many people. With a confident look, he replies that he's going in alone, which leaves the receptionist quite surprised. The scene shows the young man standing there all by himself while others watch the situation from afar. The woman gets angry, thinking it's a joke, and warns him that it's a very dangerous place where he could get seriously hurt. The people in the crowd start laughing at him, thinking the boy is trying to hit on the receptionist. But Itsuki cuts her short, saying he has zero interest in her and his only goal there is to fight. She doesn't believe it and offers her number, thinking he's playing hard to get to save face. Faced with the situation, he gives her a dark look and tells her not to make him repeat that he doesn't want her number. Scared, the woman finally gives in and hands him the entry bracelet, warning that she's not responsible for anything. The crowd comments that he's an idiot and that a level 0 rookie in a level 10 stage is a suicide mission. Others think he has a special gift, but one guy says that level is more important than any power. With the bracelet in hand, our hero approaches the gate to finally scan it and enter the challenge. As he brings his wrist to the reader, a screen appears and confirms the entry of awakened Itsuki Tenma into the stage. He gets ready, cracking his knuckles, and remembers the promise is to finish everything in under 3 minutes. Right after, a digital timer starts running on the screen, and the challenge finally begins. As soon as the challenge starts, our protagonist gets ready for action, his eyes glowing red. He runs across a vast field and realizes the inside of the stage is much larger than he imagined. With a determined look, he stops and concentrates, as he can already feel the presence of enemies approaching. Suddenly, a wooden monster appears and attacks him, but the system screen reveals it's only level 4. Without wasting a second, our hero creates an ice blade and charges at the creature with everything he's got. With a smile on his face, he holds a giant ice axe and taunts the other monsters watching the scene. Soon after, an entire horde of wooden creatures appears and faces the young man, ready for combat. Outside, the assistant asks why the commander put him in this stage when there are others for rookies. She continues, saying that surpassing Taiwajan is impossible unless someone transcends humanity itself. The blue-haired woman remembers that the hero seemed gentle, but she saw him annihilate a level 97 beast. At that moment, his eyes were cold and lonely, not looking at all like those of a human being. She concludes her memory by saying that those weren't the eyes of a man, but the eyes of a true god. The commander then states that the boy has the potential to rival Taiwajan, but is still a diamond in the rough. He says that if the hero is a god who saves people, Itsuki is the exact opposite, a demon consumed by hatred. Our protagonist realizes that a beast of this level can't even activate his overmimesis skill. With this thought, his inner demon awakens with a deep hatred reflected in his red eyes. Thus, our protagonist charges forward with his ice blade and destroys all the monsters in his path. Faced with the situation, he wonders if that's all there is and if a level 10 beast is really that weak. But he concludes it can't be that easy, and his system activates overmimesis upon detecting a regeneration skill. From there, the analysis of the enemy skill begins, with progress at 5%. Right after, the body of the monster he had cut in half begins to regenerate rapidly. The creature regenerates completely, and a screen shows that its stats have increased significantly. To defend himself, our hero activates his black ice wall, creating a blade on his arm. He realizes he needs to deal massive damage to prevent regeneration, and the analysis reaches 17%. Itsuki continues to attack relentlessly with his ice blades as the analysis progresses a little more. Our protagonist then delivers a powerful downward strike with a giant ice sword. The attack cuts the wooden creature right down the middle, leaving it completely split in two. With a wicked smile, the young man shouts that it's not over yet, and that he'll chop it up so it can't regenerate. He then uses his ice-covered arms to keep the two halves of the monster separated. With that, the creature finally breaks into several pieces and is defeated once and for all. Our protagonist comments that using the black ice for so long is draining his mana, but to his surprise, the wooden creature starts to reassemble right in front of him. Because of this, the monster attacks him, and he complains that the thing still isn't down for the count, as the analysis hits 60%. With each regeneration, the analysis advances, and he decides to use lightning to save mana and keep his distance. He knows that victory depends on the analysis, but time is running out, and he needs to hurry. With little time left before the 3-minute mark, he combines ice and thunder, and the analysis climbs to 75%. He then activates both skills to force regeneration and speed up the skill copy. Itsuki knows it's risky because if the copy skill requires mana, he's toast. While dodging attacks, the analysis reaches 80%, bringing him closer to his goal. Even so, he accepts the risk, and the analysis climbs another 5% while he's mid-attack. With his eyes glowing red, our hero charges forward, covered in a lightning aura. He lands a devastating blow on the wooden monster's head with all his strength. Completely exhausted, the young man can barely stay on his feet after using so much energy. With that, the creature impales him with several spikes, and he realizes his mana has run out. But he smiles because the copy doesn't use mana, and with the analysis complete, he declares the fight is his. With the analysis at 100%, the blue lotus flower appears, and he acquires the Lotus Burst skill. A screen reveals the details of the new ability, which deals explosive damage and has a passive effect. As a result, he gains 20 points in all stats and has his injuries completely healed. Faced with the situation, our protagonist faces the monster and prepares to activate his new ability. With that, he joins his hands to finally test the power of Lotus Burst on the creature. A gigantic explosion in the shape of a fiery lotus flower hits the wooden monster head-on. The impact is so strong that it destroys everything around in a massive wave of flames and destruction. Our hero is satisfied with the result and says the new skill isn't half bad. He's surprised that the copy skill also restored his mana and that clearing out monsters will be easier. Amidst the smoke, he wonders what that is when he sees a glowing green crystal on the ground. Outside, the receptionist is panicking because he's been in there for almost 3 minutes and wants to call for rescue. The assistant thinks it's impossible for him to win in minutes, even though she knows he wouldn't lose to the creature. Suddenly, the screen turns green and shows that a new record has been set, leaving everyone shocked. The blue-haired woman can't believe what she's seeing and wonders how he managed to complete the challenge. The panel confirms his success in 2 minutes and 14 seconds, and she shouts that it hasn't even been 3 minutes. Right after, Itsuki exits the portal and collapses on the ground exhausted, but the screen confirms his new record. The crowd goes wild because he was a minute faster than Taiwajan, despite being just a level 0 rookie. Our protagonist gets up and asks the commander if this means he'll officially become his student. With a confident smile, he looks at the man and calls him Master for the first time. Mendo Izumi praises him and accepts him as his pupil, and his assistant notes that he hasn't been this happy in a long time. The crowd is shocked to learn he's the commander's student, but some still doubt his potential. Seeing this, the receptionist approaches embarrassed with a gift and apologizes for being rude. Itsuki accepts the box and says it's no problem since she was just worried about a stranger. From there, he thanks her for her concern, leaving her completely red-faced and flustered. The blue-haired woman calls him to leave, seeming a bit annoyed with the situation. She then warns him not to get a big head just for being her father's student, and the commander suggests raising the level. The man says the current stage is too easy and that our hero can already try an advanced one. As they walk out, the commander explains that level isn't the most important factor in a beast's strength. From there, he reveals that the decisive factor is the creature's species, as some act purely on instinct. But there are species with intelligence equal to or greater than humans, and they are much more dangerous. The blue-haired woman explains that awakened and beasts are similar, but only humans possess classes. Because of this, she says his next destination will be the advanced stages of District 4. With a furious look, our protagonist wonders if the beasts he killed felt any pain. Faced with the situation, the assistant gets scared by his dark aura and wonders what he's thinking. Some people comment that the stages in District 4 are controlled by someone named Reiji Kinoshita. One of the guys gets spooked and tells his friend to shut up, because if someone hears them, they could get in trouble. Meanwhile, we see Reiji Kinoshita, the son of the North District's chief, in a very arrogant scene. A guard asks when he's leaving, but the young man says the place is his and he'll leave when he wants. With a snobbish smile, he claims that waiting in lines is for common folk, not for him. Back to our hero, he opens the receptionist's gift and finds a glowing white stone inside. Later, he's sitting with the commander and the assistant and says he recognizes that stone. Mendo Izumi asks if he's seen a karma stone before, and the young man holds the item. Itsuki remembers the large green crystal the beast left behind and says there's a small difference. He compares the white stone he received with the green one he saw before and notes that the color is different. The assistant is shocked to learn he found an intermediate karma stone in a rookie stage. The blue-haired woman remembers he's a rookie and explains that karma stones are experienced stones. So, when a beast is defeated, it releases an energy that the victor absorbs to level up. Thus, the stone is basically a crystal that stores all that energy to be used later. But she finds it very strange that one of those formed naturally in such a simple stage. Commander Mendo Izumi then says it was probably because of our protagonist's gift. Both the young man and the assistant are confused, not understanding what he means by gift. The man explains that normally he would absorb the experience, but the boy didn't level up. From there, he theorizes that the energy from the first monster was absorbed by everyone who was there. In other words, he and the blue-haired woman ended up unintentionally stealing the young man's experience. But since there was no one else in the stage, the energy solidified and became the karma stone. The assistant then asks how his stats increase if he can't level up normally. The commander cuts her off immediately, saying that an awaken's gift is confidential. He tells Itsuki to do whatever he wants with the stone and informs him that he'll be away at a conference for a while. Before leaving, he gives him 4 rules: keep the secret, don't talk about his gift, and clear 6 stages. Our protagonist agrees with a confident smile and says he'll follow all of his master's orders. In District 4, 2 awakened are arguing with some security guards. They're complaining that the stage was reserved by the Kinoshita family. One of them gets angry, saying that having money doesn't give them the right to do whatever they want. The guy insists on going in since the rich kid hasn't even arrived. With that, he threatens to report everything to the Awakened Guild. But a dark figure with red eyes appears behind them. Right after, one of the guys tries to attack, but a brute hits him with a punch. The blow sends the other young man flying. The muscular man charges forward with his fist at high speed towards the Awakened. From there, his punch clashes with the young man's earth attack. The guy's blow is completely destroyed on impact. The Awakened is shocked because his B-rank skill didn't work. He can't believe his attack didn't even tickle him. The brute reveals a metallic face with glowing red eyes. He says with a smile that it didn't even tickle. The other guy is terrified and wonders if he's a monster. After all, his technique could pierce through anything. Thus, Takeru grabs him by the collar with a frightening expression. The young man is completely frozen in the face of danger. Without any mercy, the muscular man attacks the young awakened in front of him. The boy doesn't stand a chance of defending himself. The crowd recognizes the attacker as Takeru Oga, one of Riji's pillars. He's a level 12 metal elementalist. Takeru holds both guys and warns that no one enters without permission. He threatens that anyone who resists will meet the same fate. He throws one to the ground and holds the other by the neck to make the message clear. The brute says not to even think about helping the two. One of the men in suits tells Takeru not to overdo it, cause people are watching. He warns that the master might get mad at him. Takeru simply ignores the warning and throws the young man to the ground with disdain. He doesn't seem to care about the consequences. Suddenly, our protagonist and the blue-haired woman appear to help the injured guy, who points at the attacker. The crowd comments that the young man is level 0 and that he's done for by helping. Another says the woman next to him looks familiar. With that, Takeru shouts furiously that no one passes without permission and tells him to get lost if he doesn't want to end up like the others. Our hero understands he needs to defeat him to enter. Meanwhile, the blue-haired woman says she'll call the administrator. But Itsuki stops her and says there's no need. He remembers his master's words to fight for what he believes in with all his strength. From there, he asks the assistant to take care of the injured while he deals with the brute. The system shows our protagonist's stats. Takeru scoffs at him, wondering why a level 0 dares to challenge him. But Takeru feels a strange pressure coming from the young man. His stats are revealed, showing a total of 605 points. Even with the level advantage, the brute gets tense and doesn't understand what's happening. He focuses his gaze on the boy, trying to understand where all that confidence and hidden power comes from. In the reflection of his eye, he sees our protagonist charging towards him at an absurd speed. Without a chance to react, Itsuki lands a devastating punch right on Takeru's metallic face. The crowd is shocked by the young man's speed. One of them says that even at level 8, he couldn't keep up. The impact of the blow is so strong that it starts to crack the metal defense of Takeru's face. Takeru holds his metal face and praises the young man's speed. He notices the crack that our hero's punch caused, but he says it lacks power and counters with a powerful kick. The blow sends our protagonist flying. With that, Itsuki realizes he needs to use his Thunder Wave. That way he can increase his agility and attack a stronger enemy. His status screen shows his attributes, and the Over-Mimesis skill is activated. The analysis of the enemy's metallization begins at 1%. Our hero is surprised that the skill was strong enough to activate his copy. He then decides it's time to fight seriously. From there, he understands he needs to aim for the opponent's fleshy parts. The analysis climbs to 5% as he plans. Without wasting any more time, our protagonist plants his feet firmly on the ground. He prepares to charge forward with all his speed. Takeru taunts him, saying he has neither power nor speed. The brute prepares for another attack with a smile on his face. Our hero takes advantage of his opponent's open guard. He decides to use Thunder Wave to increase his speed even more. Takeru is startled to see him use a lightning element. Itsuki charges, saying he won't give him time to metalize. In a series of rapid blows, the analysis advances relentlessly. The percentage jumps from 25 to 66 in seconds. The crowd is shocked and wonders how he's using skills from another class. They think the level 0 might actually beat Takeru. The brute becomes desperate with the young man's speed. He knows that if this continues, he's going to lose the fight badly. Faced with the situation, he can't even give a command. Takeru yells at his men to stop watching and help him. He realizes he's reached his limit and has no other choice. With clenched teeth, he decides to play his last card. With a shout, Takeru unleashes an absurd amount of energy. The power is so great that his shirt tears completely in the process. From there, he metalizes his entire body, and the analysis reaches 88%. He thanks our hero for cornering him. The brute explains that his metal parts get a defense bonus. With that, his total defense surpasses 500 points. He says he was planning to cut the young man in half, but out of gratitude, he promises to give him a quick and painless end. The crowd can't believe it, as that's a very high defense. They thought the level 0 boy had already won the fight. Our protagonist theorizes that the transformation consumes a lot of mana. Therefore, his mana can't be that high with so much defense. Takeru laughs at the theory, but inside he's quite surprised. He wonders how a level 0 can have such good intuition. Itsuki says he won't try to exhaust his mana because he's going to end it all right now. Soon after, the analysis finally reaches 100%. The blue-haired woman sees the lotus flower appearing again. She realizes our protagonist is getting stronger. The people in the crowd don't understand the skill. They think it's not an attack and wonder how he'll win with it. The analysis finishes, and he acquires the piercing sphere. The problem is that its speed is only 1 meter per second. With a determined look, our hero vows to crush that defense. He will destroy his opponent's greatest pride. With the new skill, his stats increase by another 10 points, his injuries are healed, and he appears inside the blue lotus flower. He challenges Takeru to try and dodge his new attack. With that, he activates the piercing sphere with a confident smile. The crowd can't believe a level 0 broke the defense of a level 12. They think there's something very strange in his eyes. A small sphere of dark purple energy appears in front of our hero. It glows intensely with a mysterious power. From there, the sphere begins to flow towards the crowd. The attack moves very slowly and predictably. The people in the crowd laugh at the skill, finding it all very disappointing. One of them comments that it's just a little ball. With that, Takeru also scoffs at him and tells him not to make him laugh. He can't believe such a weak attack could stop him. He looks at the sphere with a mocking smile on his face. The brute wonders if this is the young man's big trump card. He then warns that the boy will meet a pathetic end. But the sphere hits him square in the chest, catching him by surprise. Suddenly, Takeru's expression changes to one of shock and pain. He doesn't understand how it managed to pierce his defense. The small sphere passes through his metal body as if it were nothing. The attack completely pierces his absolute defense. Itsuki says he only spared his right arm because he's human. If he were a beast, he would have gone straight for the enemy's neck. Right after, he turns to the henchmen in suits. With a cold look, he tells them to take the injured guy to a hospital. He then shouts angrily, telling them all to get out of his sight. His patience with the situation has run out. Scared, the men in suits pick up their fallen boss from the ground. They hurry to get out of there as fast as possible. The blue-haired woman and the crowd celebrate the unexpected victory. They can't believe our protagonist actually managed it. The two guys he saved call him over to form a group. They say the three of them together can clear the stage in no time. One of them gets excited and says they have a healer on the team. With that, they can recover mana and use the sphere multiple times. Our protagonist thinks it's perfect that the monster's defense is high. That way, he can increase the speed of his new sphere. Faced with the situation, the two young men pressure him to join the group. They anxiously await the boy's response. But with a serious look, he refuses the offer immediately. Itsuki states with certainty that he will enter the challenge alone. The crowd is shocked by the young man's decision. They can't believe he's going into an advanced level 15 stage alone. The blue-haired woman warns him that he's pushing his luck. At that, one of the young men says goodbye and says he'll look for another team. The assistant then warns him about the monster's high defense. She worries if his mana will hold up, and he reassures her. The woman turns bright red and denies being worried. She says she'll help the injured and tells him to do whatever he wants. Before leaving, she warns him that the stone beasts travel in groups. She also tells him to be careful with his mana consumption. Our hero agrees and approaches the gate to enter. The system confirms the entry of awakened Itsuki Tenma. Upon entering the stage, he takes in the scenery before him. He realizes the number of enemies is much larger than he expected. The place is a rocky and desolate battlefield. Several stone creatures with glowing eyes stare at him from a distance. The system screen shows the stats of a stone statue. The creature has a total of 460 points and converts magic into defense. Our protagonist prepares to test his new ability. He wants to see if the monsters trigger the sphere's passive condition. With that, the piercing sphere is activated with an intense glow. The purple and blue energy concentrates in his hand for the attack. Soon after, he launches the orb towards the stone creature. The monster charges forward, completely unaware of the danger. The sphere hits the monster and opens a giant hole in its chest. The system confirms the defeat of the level 9 stone statue. With that, our hero confirms his theory, and the sphere's speed increases by 100%. He knew it would work. Right after, 3 more stone creatures appear and face him, ready to attack. They seem much angrier than the previous one. He then thinks that slow monsters are perfect targets for his new ability. He covers himself in lightning and gets ready. He defeats a few more enemies and sees that each shot costs 50 mana. With his current mana, he only has 2 shots left. Faced with the situation, he sees 2 monsters coming, and the boss hasn't appeared yet. He needs to conserve his attacks for the end. From there, he realizes he needs to defeat 2 at once with a single attack. He concentrates his energy for the perfect shot. He then launches the sphere at the ground to create a dust screen. The explosion kicks up a lot of rocks and distracts the monsters. Taking advantage of the distraction, he leaps into the air to catch the creatures by surprise. This gives him a tactical advantage from above. With a wicked look and a smile on his face, he prepares for the final blow. His eyes glow red with adrenaline. He concentrates all his energy into the sphere and launches it with all his might from above. The purple energy glows intensely in the air. The attack hits both monsters dead on, and the sphere's speed increases again. The system confirms the 2 eliminations. Completely exhausted and out of mana, he falls to the ground. Our protagonist complains, wishing he had a recovery skill. Even tired, he notes that he can now hit targets running at 5 meters per second. His ability has gotten much stronger. The screen shows the details of the piercing sphere. The skill's speed increase can reach up to 500%. Suddenly, the ground shakes violently, and a gigantic shadow covers our protagonist. Right after, the stage boss emerges with a thunderous roar, kicking up a lot of dust. The stone creature activates a B-rank skill called Gigantification, becoming enormous. The screen reveals that the monster is level 15 and has a total of 777 points. Faced with the danger, Itsuki activates his Thunder Wave to increase his agility by 50%. Our protagonist wonders if his piercing sphere can get through such a tough creature. Because of this, he decides the best chance is to aim for the creature's head to deal more damage. He jumps high and finds a perfect opening to launch his attack with everything he has. But he realizes the sphere is too small and might not cause enough damage to take down the giant. The stone monster takes the opportunity and launches an attack with its enormous arm towards him. Our hero despairs, knowing he can't dodge the blow while in mid-air. With no other option, he activates his black ice wall to try and protect himself from the impact. The blow hits his ice defense with absurd force, shattering everything. He's thrown against the wall and admits the creature is much stronger than he imagined. With that, his over-mimesis skill activates upon detecting Gigantification, and he smiles because this will help him. Far away, Reiji Kinoshita is in his mansion when one of his men receives a call and is shocked. The rich kid gets annoyed by the noise and tells the guy to be quiet because he hates shouting. The man apologizes, and the young man asks what happened to make him so surprised. He then reveals that someone defeated Takeru Oga and forced their way into the reserved stage. Reiji gets furious and wonders if it was an awakened above level 30 who did it. His henchman explains that the high-level awakened are busy, and there are only rookies there. Because of this, he thinks it's impossible for a rookie to beat Takaru, and Reiji asks for more information. But Reiji says he doesn't need details, and that if they leave now, they'll arrive in time. The rich kid gets irritated by the hesitation and yells at him to get a move on without making him repeat himself. Scared, the man agrees immediately and prepares to leave with his boss. Reiji takes off his coat and vows to get revenge on whoever messed with the Kinoshita family. Back at the stage, the analysis reaches 100%, and our hero appears in the lotus flower. With that, the skill has been copied, and the giant stone creature is still staring him down. Itsuki sees that the analysis is complete, but his piercing sphere has leveled up to level 2. The screen shows that the sphere now travels at 7 meters per second, and its size can be adjusted. Our protagonist sees that the passive bonus has doubled, and he can change the sphere's size with mana. With this, he gets excited and decides to test his new ability right away, without wasting time. The screen shows that he gained piercing sphere level 2 and 20 stat points, but his totals have decreased. On top of the giant golem, he spends all his mana to create the strongest piercing sphere he can manage. The gigantic purple and black sphere descends with full force towards the stone creature. The attack hits dead on and pierces the monster from top to bottom with absurd power. Lying on the ground exhausted, our hero smiles and wonders if he overdid it since his mana is at 0. The system confirms the golem's defeat and a 200% increase in the sphere's speed. He holds a green karma stone and calculates that if he goes through twice more, the sphere will be as fast as a car. From there, he realizes he ignored the passive effects, but they're actually quite useful. With a smile, he remembers that Lotus Burst increases the range of all his skills. The screen explains that the skill increases range by 1% with each kill, and he imagines the potential. Outside, the panel shows that the challenge was completed in 3 minutes and 1 second. The crowd is in shock because a group of 5 takes 10 minutes, and he broke Taiwajan's record. When they see our hero coming out, they wonder why he's still level 0 and doesn't even look injured. The blue-haired assistant watches him and says he passed again without a scratch and even broke the record. She then comments that he was pretty fast and looks at him with a surprised expression. Our hero explains that the creature was weak against piercing attacks and asks what that glowing butterfly is. With that, the woman introduces herself as a Shikigami user and says the butterfly is her jade familiar. The young man is amazed and says it's the first time he's seen a Shikigami, and that it's very beautiful. He then asks what types of awakened classes there are, and she's shocked that he doesn't know. The assistant explains that there are 4 main categories and that he's already seen 3 of them. The first are elementalists, who manipulate one of the 7 elements and are the most common and powerful. From there, she mentions his classmate as an example of an elementalist awakened. Besides him, the brute Takeru he faced earlier is also a metal elementalist. The second class is the Shikigami user, who can summon a familiar that only obeys them. She reveals that the familiar has been with its master since birth, and its stats are shown. The blue-haired woman finishes her explanation and asks if our hero has any questions. Itsuki notes that her Shikigami is stronger than her and questions if she's really a senior. The assistant gets flustered by the question and annoyed that he's so direct and unfiltered. The assistant explains that shikigami's also absorb experience, which is why they are always stronger than their masters. With a dark look, our protagonist thinks it's easier to attack the user directly in a fight. The blue-haired woman gets scared as she feels his dark aura leaking out again and wonders what's wrong with him. Our hero ignores her concern and asks what the next class is since she's only mentioned 2 so far. Faced with the situation, she reveals that the 3rd class is the most mysterious of all, with very little information available. Right after, she points out that this class is his, the Order Breaker, leaving the young man surprised. The reason for the mystery is that each one has different abilities, like our hero's blue lotus flower. From there, she gives examples like controlling body size, creating clones, or even stretching. She shows that normal skills range from C to S rank, but Order Breakers have exclusive Z rank skills. It's because of these unique skills that they are special, and that's why her father scolded her for asking about his. She then calls him an irregular existence because he used 3 different skills, and 2 were elementalist skills. Our protagonist thinks that since his master isn't around, it's fine for her to keep talking about him. He then asks about the last remaining class, but the blue-haired woman signals for silence. With a smile, she says this is punishment for him not telling her anything about himself. He accepts the punishment, and she informs him that the student he saved is fine and asks about his plans. Our protagonist says he's going to clear the stage again, but the woman warns him there's a 2-day cooldown. He's surprised by the waiting time and decides to focus on leveling up his other skill, Lotus Burst. With that, our hero asks if there's a stage with lots of monsters for him to train. The assistant smiles and says she knows the perfect place for what he wants to do. She warns him it will be difficult without an area of effect attack, but he smiles confidently at the idea. He confirms he's going in and realizes she doesn't know about his Lotus Burst. The place is the Locust Desert, and it has over 1,000 low-level monsters, but in large numbers. Faced with the situation, she insists it will be dangerous, but the young man reassures her and says he'll be fine. The crowd thinks he's crazy, and one of them remembers that Reiji Kinoshita will definitely show up. Meanwhile, the rich kid arrives at the stage and realizes his target is no longer there. His henchman confirms the target is gone, and that he cleared the place in just 30 minutes. Reiji gets furious because he can't believe the young man is making a fool of him like that. He then orders his men to contact a tracker to follow the mana trails. With great hatred, he shouts that he wants the guy alive, because he's going to make him taste hell on earth. Far away, an assassin is hiding and complains that he didn't know the rich kid had such a strong subordinate. The assassin is relieved to have escaped and thinks that if it weren't for his skill, he'd already be a goner. He hides in an alley and believes he's safe now because he managed to get away for good. But suddenly, a giant wolf with red eyes appears and attacks him by surprise. The creature bites him hard, giving the young man no chance to defend himself from the attack. From the top of a building, the tracker Charles watches the scene with his giant wolf. The assassin is terrified and doesn't understand how the guy managed to find him so quickly. With a smile, Charles explains that his familiar, named Mort, has a very keen sense of smell. He then reveals that his wolf can smell the scent of demise that the assassin exudes. Desperate, the man begs not to be taken out and starts crying in fear of the situation. But Charles says he can't, because Mr. Kinoshita would be mad at him if he spared him. With his eyes glowing red, he tells his wolf to enjoy the meal that's been served. The giant wolf then moves in to finally end the poor guy's life right there. Soon after, Charles comments that his familiar has finally leveled up after so long. The screen shows the stats of the Hound of Mort, now at level 16 with new skills. Faced with the situation, he answers a call and says with a serious voice that the job is done. Charles receives a call and finds out that Oga was seriously injured. He wonders if they found the brute's weak spot. With a smile, he turns to his giant wolf and says that a new prey has appeared for them to hunt. Far away, our protagonist and the blue-haired woman arrive at a place called the Locust Desert. He looks at the wheat fields and wonders if there are really that many locusts around. The assistant explains that the beasts choose environments they like, and predicting that is a basic skill. She comments that the stage is so dangerous they're considering closing it, and our hero notices there's no receptionist. The young man questions the reason, as it's only level 13, but she says the rules there are different. Because of this, she reveals that the beasts are aggressive, and their numbers are absurd. A single second of carelessness is enough to be surrounded by locusts and devoured alive. The scene shows a skull picked clean to the bone as proof of the danger that awaits him, but our hero smiles and says that's exactly what he wanted, and the woman wonders if he wants to check out. With a confident look, he states that he's not desperate enough to become insect food. The assistant watches him enter the portal and notes that despite everything, he seems quite confident. She thinks to herself that she warned him about everything, and if he ends up done for, it's not her fault. Suddenly, she remembers that the locusts spawn endlessly until the boss is defeated and decides to go warn him. The blue-haired woman prepares to enter the portal with a determined look, she's decided to warn the boy. But before she could enter, Charles and his giant wolf stop her. They block her path immediately. With a sinister smile and red eyes, he says he's looking for someone. The situation suddenly becomes much more tense. Meanwhile, our protagonist enters the stage. He looks at the place and comments that it's a huge mess. With a smile on his face, he claps his hands and calls the pests for extermination. He seems very confident in his abilities. In the middle of the desolate field, a scarecrow stands out. The scene shows how abandoned and creepy the place is. The system screen reveals level 1 and level 2 locusts. He notes that their individual levels are quite low. Soon after, a giant swarm of locusts appears in the sky. Our hero realizes the quantity is insane. With a wicked look, he activates his Lotus Burst. The young man says this situation is perfect for him to train. He covers himself with his ice armor and explains his plan. He'll let them all gather to finish them off at once. The swarm of locusts completely surrounds him, and he shouts now. The time to attack has finally come. With that, the Lotus Burst is activated instantly. An intense light erupts from the middle of the monster horde. The skill explodes with full force and destroys several locusts. The system confirms the kills and the range increase. Amidst the destruction, Itsuki stands still as more notifications pop up. The power of his skill is absurd. The screen shows the level 2 skill with a diameter of 10.5 meters. The total range has increased to 110%. Our protagonist calculates that with 10% of his mana, he can get off about 10 shots and increase his range by 1000%. The screen shows his mana at 280 out of 252, and he complains about the stage's cooldown time. He's confused because the success notification hasn't appeared, and he starts to suspect something is off. Suddenly, his system detects a C-rank skill, and the over-mimesis analysis is activated at 1%. Faced with the situation, the young man is surprised and wonders if there are still survivors around. Right after, a new horde of locusts surrounds him again, coming from all directions. With his ice armor, he realizes he was careless, and that the detected skill must belong to the stage boss. The problem now is that he has no idea where the boss is hiding, but he can still increase his range. He then decides he will keep killing the locusts until the big boss finally shows up. From there, he launches another explosion, and the system confirms the kills, increasing his range to 220%. Our hero is shocked because the diameter of his skill now reaches 16 meters, and the effect is insane. Even after wiping out so many swarms, he wonders why the boss still hasn't made an appearance. The scene then reveals that the locusts are hatching from eggs that were hidden underground. With that, the creatures are reborn, and he realizes the assistant was right about the infinite respawn. As the monsters keep appearing, the analysis of the boss's skill climbs to 27%. His status screen shows he has mana for 9 more explosions, and he prepares to continue. With his hands ablaze, our protagonist shouts that it doesn't matter how many times they come back. Soon after, he joins his hands with his ice armor and vows to exterminate them all. From there, he launches another devastating explosion, and the system confirms the eliminations. The notifications keep popping up as the skill is used twice in a row. Without giving the monsters a chance, he continues the attack, using the skill 7 times in succession. The screen reveals that the skill's diameter is now 4.5 meters with a bonus of 990%. Faced with the situation, he realizes he only has mana for one last shot, but the locusts keep coming. Completely surrounded, he shouts that the enemies are endless, and the situation becomes desperate. On top of that, he realizes the boss still hasn't appeared and considers retreating to finish the analysis. But he quickly dismisses the idea, as retreating now would be a loser's mentality, and he won't give up. He then prepares for his last attack with red eyes and says he will kill them all. With that, he launches his final Lotus Burst with all the strength he has left. Exhausted, he drops to his knees on the ground and realizes that at this rate, he won't last much longer. Even after so many attacks, he realizes the number of locusts hasn't decreased at all. The analysis reaches 91%, and he realizes that all the beasts after the first one were level 1. With this, he finally understands that the boss's skill is infinite reproduction, and a locust queen appears. The screen shows the queen's stats, who is level 13 and can control up to 110 locusts at once. Our hero knows he needs to kill the source, but his mana is out, and the analysis is almost at 100%. Right after, a blue sphere appears, and the analysis finally ends, saving him from the situation. He acquires the Mana Sense skill, which restores 10% of his mana for each enemy detected. Our protagonist celebrates because the skill has a range of over 1,000 meters and also restores his mana. With a wicked smile, he realizes he could farm the locusts forever with this ability. But he decides to finish it quickly because the blue-haired woman is waiting for him outside the stage. The screen confirms that he gained 10 points in all stats and had his health and mana completely restored. His total stats now reach 1,120, and he prepares to locate the boss with his new skill. From there, he releases a wave of blue energy that spreads across the entire battlefield to track it. The mana wave expands and finally finds the Locust Queen, who is hidden underground. With his eyes glowing blue, he shouts with a smile that he finally found the creature. Faced with the situation, he prepares to launch his final attack with a confident look and a smile on his face. With that, he says that hiding behind her children is useless and readies his piercing sphere. From there, he combines the sphere with his passive and launches it with full force towards the boss. The screen shows that the attack's range is 120 meters, and the orb tears through the ground with speed. Faced with the situation, the Locust Queen is hit head-on by the blow and sent flying. Soon after, our protagonist appears behind her, covered in lightning and his ice armor. With a wicked smile and his eyes glowing, he declares that the fight is over with a checkmate. He then cuts her into pieces with his ice blade, giving the creature no chance at all. Seeing the other locusts, he realizes that without the queen, they've fallen into total chaos. With a flaming hand, he says not to worry, because he'll send them to be with their mummy. He comments that the range of his skills has increased to over 1,210%, and the orb's range to 131 meters. The screen confirms that the Lotus Burst's diameter is now 65.5 meters and the orb's range has increased. Our hero picks up an item and says the harvest was great, and that he'll be back to level up his passive even more. As he leaves, he sets a new record of 17 minutes and 7 seconds and thinks the assistant must be worried. He sees her waiting and already imagines he's going to get an earful. When he gets close to her, with a smile, he finds her quirky side cute and apologizes for making her worry. As he approaches, our protagonist sees the assistant collapsed on the ground and a pair of red eyes staring at him from the darkness. Charles holds her by the neck and says that if she cleared the stage alone, then she's the person Reiji is looking for. He continues, saying he tried to get information from her, but even injured, the girl didn't say a word. Right after, our hero appears and tells him to get his dirty hands off her, and in return, he'll leave him barely standing. The man in the hat starts laughing at the threat and tells the boy not to get cocky just because he's a level 0 rookie. Without wasting a second, Itsuki charges forward, covered in lightning, towards the enemy to attack. Charles is shocked by the young man's absurd speed and feels that his end is approaching. But the giant wolf mort appears in front and blocks the punch with its head to protect its master. The system detects the B-rank Shikigami, and overmimesis is activated, starting the analysis of the creature. With this, our protagonist realizes the wolf is a Shikigami, and that the guy in the hat is a user. Charles compliments his movements and speed and understands why Oga lost without even using his armor. He then says he has the wolf mort and a hostage and uses the blue-haired girl as a shield. Itsuki shouts the girl's name Ajaha while holding back the wolf, and the analysis of the creature continues to rise. From there, the creature opens its enormous mouth and tries to bite our hero's arm with all its might. Charles then taunts him, saying that Morty's bite can crush any defense below 300. Charles's expression changes to pure shock as he can't believe what he's seeing, but our hero blocks the bite with his ice arm and prepares his piercing sphere. With that, the sphere explodes inside the wolf's mouth, sending it flying with the force of the impact. The young man says that without the Shikigami, the user is defenseless, and the analysis reaches 77%. Charles is shocked and wonders if the boy really knows that he's just a rookie. He explains that Mort has a respawn skill that drastically reduces its revival time. Faced with the situation, the giant wolf regenerates, and Charles yells for him to become dog food. With that, our protagonist activates his mana sense, and a wave of energy spreads across the area. He dodges the attack and says that keeping the skill active was the right call, and the analysis continues. Itsuki thinks the analysis is almost done, but if the Lotus appears, the enemy might get suspicious. Charles becomes desperate because the young man has more power, speed, and even a detection skill. He then threatens the assistant again and says that if he resists any longer, she's a goner. Our hero wants to finish the analysis without summoning the blue lotus flower, but the situation is complicated. The analysis finishes, and he acquires the Shikigami Eater skill, which allows him to control the creature. His stats increase by 20 points, but the healing fails because the copy activation was incomplete. Our protagonist realizes the healing effect is gone because he skipped the blue lotus, but he doesn't care since he's already recovered. The wolf mort charges to attack again, and the young man realizes his new skill can steal Shikigami from others. Faced with the situation, he prepares to use the new ability and take control of the creature once and for all. With his eyes glowing red, he touches the wolf's head and shouts that he's taking this dog for himself. From there, a blue light envelopes the creature, and it begins to transform right in front of him. Taking advantage of the distraction, he lands a powerful kick on the guy in the hat, sending him flying. Charles gets furious with the wolf and shouts, calling the creature useless after all the experience he gave it. He then grabs the assistant more tightly and threatens to finish her off if the young man resists any longer. With her last bit of strength, Aja tells our protagonist not to worry about her and to keep fighting. Our hero then raises his hands in surrender and shouts for the enemy not to touch the girl. Charles smiles and says that if he had been obedient from the start, the woman wouldn't have suffered so much. The young man then asks why he's being attacked, as he doesn't remember picking a fight with him. The man introduces himself as Charles and reveals that he was sent by Reiji Kinoshita to capture him. Upon hearing the rich kid's name, our protagonist understands he needs to find him to have a chat. Charles threatens him and warns that the wolf mort will tear off his legs if he uses his ice to defend himself. Charles then shouts for his wolf mort to rip off both of our hero's legs at once. But Itsuki also gives an order and tells the creature to prove it's worthy of being his Shikigami. From there, the wolf mort turns and bites its former master, with a lotus symbol on its forehead. At that moment, our protagonist uses his speed to rescue Ageha and holds her in his arms. The man in the hat screams in pain, not understanding why his own familiar is attacking him. Our hero then approaches his new Shikigami and praises it, calling it a good boy. With a furious look, he vows to make Charles pay 100 times over for the pain he caused. In a panic, the man in the hat offers to lure Reiji in exchange for his life to save himself. With his eyes glowing red, our protagonist says it's a good proposal with a dark look. Charles sees an opening and thinks he has a chance to counterattack and turn the tables. Soon after, he creates a giant ice spike and launches it, shouting for the young man to perish. But our hero retorts the insult with a calm look and tells him to perish too, unfazed. He says that taking out Reiji is his job and tells the wolf mort to make Charles feel the same way Ageha did. The man in the hat cries in fear and begs for one more chance to save himself from the situation. Without any mercy, the giant wolf charges towards its former master to end it all. Charles cries desperately and tries to remind the wolf mort that he was its former master. But the creature doesn't care and opens its enormous mouth to devour him without any mercy. Meanwhile, our protagonist says someone has been watching him since he left the stage. With a serious look, he challenges the person to come out of hiding and show themselves. The scene shows the vast wheat field where they are, with the stage structure in the background. Suddenly, a hooded guy appears from the middle of the wheat and says he's been caught. Our hero looks at him suspiciously and asks if he's a friend of the man in the hat. The blonde young man panics and denies it immediately, saying he's not an enemy and to hear him out. With no time for that, our protagonist turns away and tells the wolf mort to follow him when it's done eating. The hooded guy thinks that if he can control a rabid dog, maybe he can help him. He then introduces himself as Iberia and recognizes Itsuki as the guy who defeated Takeru Oga. From there, Iberia asks for help and offers creation stones and even weapons as payment. The blonde young man is confused because he thought anyone would accept a reward like that. He remembers his father saying that rewards need to be relevant, like water in the desert. A real reward is a blade for the Avenger or medicine for the wounded. With a smile on his face, Iberia says he finally understands what our protagonist needs. He warns that walking slowly with the injured girl, she might not make it to the hospital. From there, the blonde young man reveals he has a healing item and shows a glowing scroll. As our hero walks away, he shouts with confidence that he can save the assistant with his item. Faced with the situation, Itsuki stops and turns the surprised look and asks if it's true. Iberia confirms that the healing won't be instant, but it will definitely save the woman's life. Our hero then asks if the item works over clothes, and the blonde says it's a rare artifact. The hooded young man realizes he's a rookie, and that's why he doesn't know about artifacts. He explains that normal weapons don't work against the beasts, but artisans create special items. From there, he reveals that artifacts are divided into 4 categories: common, rare, epic, and unique. Common ones are basic weapons like longswords that can injure monsters and awakened. Rare and epic ones increase the user's stats and also have useful special effects. Finally, unique ones are the pinnacle, with massive bonuses and powerful, game-changing abilities. Iberia says that artisans aren't strong, but they are highly respected by everyone for creating the artifacts. Our protagonist understands that his father is an artisan, but the blonde says he's one of the top 10. With a smug smile, he reveals that his father has already created 3 of the 10 unique artifacts. Because of this, his old man is known to everyone as the powerful artisan king of the north. But the blonde young man gets annoyed because our hero is completely ignoring him and turns his back, not caring about the story. Itsuki picks up the crossbow that Charles dropped on the ground earlier. Iberia can't believe he's not phased, and our protagonist thinks about how he can use the weapon. He then approaches and says the crossbow is a rare artifact that generates its own ammunition. Suddenly, the weapon disappears, and the blonde explains that soul-bound artifacts can be stored. Our protagonist thanks him for the healing and says he now needs to find Reiji Kinoshita. Upon hearing the name, the blonde young man is surprised and says that facing the guy takes a lot of courage. But he reveals that if it's Reiji, then they have the same target, and our hero questions the reason. Iberia invites him to form a team for the Savior's National Tournament preliminaries. He explains that the preliminaries are by continent, and the northern venue is in District 4. being the chief's son, Riji wants to go to the main event so as not to embarrass his family. That's why he's monopolizing all the stages to level up faster. Our hero asks why him, and the blonde says his gut tells him that together they'll pass. Iberia explains that since he was a child, he watched his father create artifacts and always admired him greatly. Each finished piece was a work of art, and his respect for his old man only grew. Because of this, he always dreamed of becoming an awakened to fight against the disaster beasts. But when he finally awakened and asked for an artifact, his father said it was too soon for him. After much begging, his father agreed to give him one if he passed the tournament preliminaries. Thus, he says with a determined look that he needs to pass the preliminaries no matter what. Our protagonist questions why he didn't team up with a high-level player since he has a famous father. The blonde young man reveals that his old man warned him to pass on his own merit and without using his name. Furthermore, his intelligence revealed that the strongest have already been bought by Riji Kinoshita. But upon learning that someone beat Takeru and broke a record, he investigated and tracked him down. Itsuki agrees to the partnership but says he'll first take Agia to the hospital, and the blonde stops him. The blonde young man suggests names for the duo, and our protagonist thinks he talks more than Riku. As he thinks about his friends, he wonders if Riku and Sayo will also go to the preliminaries. Far away, Riku appears, preparing for the preliminaries with some heavy training. Sayo asks him if he's caught a cold, and the young man says maybe Itsuki is talking about him. Sayo wonders how long it's been since the attack and if our hero is okay since they haven't seen him. Riku calls her weird and asks why she didn't visit him if she was so worried, making her blush. With that, the girl gets furious and launches a water attack at her friend, who gets startled. He complains about the cheap shot, but she says it's his fault for leaving an opening in the middle of training. Suddenly, a muscular man appears and tells them both to stop messing around, because the preliminaries are starting. Meanwhile, Reiji Kinoshita observes 3 creation stones inside a silver briefcase. He wonders where his henchman is, as he's late, and thinks something unexpected must have happened. Angrily, the rich kid crushes one of the stones and calls it useless junk as he gains experience points. Reiji says to forget the guy and focus on the preliminaries because if he fails, his father will send him to solitary. Sayo gets excited to fight other awakened, and her water elementalist status is revealed. A henchman informs Reiji that they've secured the help of 887 awakened. The rich kid praises him and says he's the only reliable guy he has by his side at the moment. From there, he uses the last creation stone and finally manages to level up with the experience. With his body covered in lightning, his new level 12 and his stats are revealed for the battle. Far away, our protagonist appears with a blue aura and a determined look for whatever comes. In a hospital room, our protagonist apologizes to the commander for H's situation. Mendu Izumi asks what they should do and offers to get rid of the rich kid once and for all. But Itsuki stops him immediately and says with a serious look that he'll handle it himself. Faced with the situation, the commander agrees to the request and tells him to fill him in on the details later. Iberia is shocked to learn he's the young man's master and immediately wants to ask for an autograph. Our hero then announces he's going to the preliminaries with Iberia and asks how Ajahao is doing. The woman says she's fine thanks to her jade butterfly and the blonde young man's rare artifact. Mendu Izumi recognizes the item and deduces that Iberia is the son of the famous artisan Aiden. The blonde gets startled that the commander knows about his father, and decides he needs to act with dignity. With a smug smile, he fumbles his words and says he's Aiden's father instead of his son. Everyone is left speechless, and the commander corrects him, saying it's the other way around. Completely embarrassed, the blonde young man corrects himself and says that Aiden is actually his father. Mendu Izumi thanks him for saving his daughter, and says he'll visit his father after the tournament. From there, he tells the two to get ready and informs them that he and Ajo will be watching tomorrow. With a confident look, the new duo agrees and guarantees they will pass the preliminaries. Agia comments that her father really likes Itsuki, as he always used to take her to his meetings. Mendu Izumi explains that because of his childhood trauma, our hero has a strong self-destructive impulse. But this impulse lessens significantly when there's someone nearby he wants to protect. Because of this, he reveals that it was for this reason he placed his daughter by the young man's side. Her mission was to become his friend, and the person he would most want to protect in the world. Right after, the commander reveals that the attack on the school was not an accident but something planned. He says the number of traitors on the beast's side is increasing and humanity's future is bleak. But with a confident look, he states that our protagonist will surely brighten that future. He then says that the boy will become the great beacon of hope for all of humanity. The scene then shifts to the location of the tournament preliminaries in the Northern District 4. Our hero and Iberia arrive and see that the number of participants has jumped from 3,000 to 5,000. Faced with the situation, Reiji gets annoyed with the news and says that old man increased the variables. Seo and Riku notice that the rich kid's allies are wearing red ribbons to identify themselves. Suddenly, a man named Soryu Fujiwara appears to explain the rules of the preliminaries. He explains that the arena is divided into 2 areas, and everyone will start at a different point. From there, the announcer explains that the first phase is a race to the inner area of the arena. As soon as someone arrives there, their rank is recorded, and only the top 500 advance to the next phase. The man says that each person can carry 2 tools, and Iberia gets our hero's attention. Riku notices the function of the bracelet, and Sayo comments that eliminating thousands right off the bat is brutal. Faced with the situation, Reiji Kinoshita appears with his henchmen and orders no one to run ahead of him. Iberia recognizes the guys he bought and already plans a surprise attack for when he lowers his guard. But our protagonist walks straight towards them, and the henchmen notice he doesn't have the red ribbon. With that, Iberia is completely shocked by his new partner's impulsive attitude. The announcer then gives the signal, and the first phase of the tournament finally begins with everyone running. Soryu comments that it's good to see so many young people wanting to join the alliance, but that numbers aren't everything. A man named Shu Haiten says that in the past, there were several participants above level 15. The announcer remembers that in his year, there were only 2 competitors, and Jin Taiwa was one of them. Shu then says it gets boring without a rookie like Taiwajin and hopes there's a genius in the crowd. The announcer comments that geniuses like that only appear once every 100 years, but Shu heard a rumor about a student. Commander Mendu Izumi, who was listening to the conversation, finally confirms that the rumor is true. Shu Haiten gets excited and asks if the student is there, as he must have extraordinary talent. With that, Soryu starts looking through the participants' data to see if he can find the genius. He sees Riku but dismisses him immediately because his gift is only grade 2 and quite mediocre. Soon after, he passes by Sayo but doesn't think it's her either, as she's a support type. From there, he finds a girl named Hana who has a level of 16, which is very abnormal for a rookie. Soryu thinks he's found the student, but Mendu Izumi doesn't seem to agree with his conclusion. Shuhaiten then asks if there are any level 0 participants and says there's always a curious one. Back in the arena, Reiji and his henchmen start laughing at our protagonist and call him a lost boy. Unfazed, our hero activates one of his artifacts and faces the rich kid with his eyes glowing. Reiji is surprised by the young man's attitude, and with a sinister smile, asks who the heck he is. Our protagonist stares him down with a cold look and says the rich kid was looking for him. The rich kid can't believe a level 0 piece of trash beat Oga and thinks someone sent him to provoke him. Furious, he orders his henchmen to grab the young man, and they say they'll make him regret it. Reiji covers himself in lightning and shouts that he has no time to waste on a small fry like our hero. From there, the rich kid's henchmen surround the two and prepare for the upcoming fight. One of the henchmen scoffs at them and says they can beg for their lives if they want to be spared. Iberia knows he can take down one, but it's impossible for our hero to fight against 4. Faced with the situation, he prepares to use one of his artifacts, but our hero stops him. The henchman in front scoffs, saying the first enemy they encounter is a level 0 piece of trash. Without wasting time, our protagonist faces him and, with a serious look, tells the guy to get out of his way. The henchman is shocked by the young man's audacity and can't believe what he just heard. Soon after, he starts laughing like a madman, and all his companions follow suit. The man who was defeated by Itsuki before likes his personality and says he'll save him if needed. The henchman in front then says, with a sinister smile, that he's going to crack his head open to see what's inside. But before he can do anything, our protagonist lands a devastating punch right in the middle of his face. With the enemy on the ground, our hero repeats with a cold look that he told him to get out of his way. The other henchman is shocked because our protagonist just knocked out a guy 7 levels above him. The guys panic, not understanding what happened, but one of them says it was just a lucky shot. Furious, the masked man uses a B-rank skill called Flamethrower to attack. Iberia is terrified by the speed of the attack and realizes there's no time to use his artifact. The henchman comments that it's an overkill, but he got himself in trouble for acting tough as a level 0. But one of his companions realizes something is very wrong with the situation. Faced with the situation, our protagonist emerges from the flames, protected by his black ice wall. Iberia is impressed and can't believe he withstood such a massive fire explosion. With a cold look, our hero tells his new partner to step back so he doesn't get in the way of the fight. The screen reveals that he blocked a B-rank fire skill, and his defense increased by 10%. With this, he wants to test if the passive of his black ice wall activates when blocking the same skill twice. The masked henchman is shocked because there's no water elementalist there and wonders how he's using ice. Our protagonist challenges him to attack again and says that this time he won't even defend himself. The man thinks he's bluffing but accepts the challenge, and the young man confirms the promise with a cute face. He then prepares to end it all and unleashes his strongest fire ability, but our hero stands still and thinks that even with the increased power, it's still a fire skill. His friends think he's joking around and say that with this power, he rivals a level 8. The masked henchman has spent all his mana and says it's a waste on a level 0, but the game is over. Soon after, he is completely shocked and shouts that it's simply impossible. Our protagonist understands that the passive of his black ice wall doesn't stack with the same skill. With the test complete, he faces the other henchman and says it's time to end this foolishness. The brute thinks the ice skill is strong, but says he's already found the young man's weakness. From there, he unleashes his B-rank skill called Flame Barrage with everything he's got. But our hero questions if they want to win with numbers and activates his black ice wall. With that, a large fire explosion occurs as the fireballs clash with the defense. The henchman thinks a level 0's mana is nothing and plans to drain it to win the fight. Suddenly, the brute is shocked to see our hero right in front of him after the smoke clears. He closed the distance in an instant and noted that the passive only activated once with the fireballs. The henchman then says that if the young man's advantage is speed, his is brute force. Our protagonist then asks with a mocking look if he's even using any force. With that, he says he'll end the guy's suffering and throws him far away with a single blow. The screen reveals that his defense only increased by 3 points, and he understands the calculation is based on base defense. Seeing the other two, he realizes they are lightning elementalists and will use them to level up his skill. With a cold look, our hero asks if they really think they can escape him. The two henchmen launch their silver serpent skill, and one of them shouts that he'll take the young man with him. The screen shows that he absorbed both skills, and his agility increased by 10% in total. With both of them on the ground, our hero wonders who this guy is who defeats everyone so easily. He understands that the Thunder Wave's passive works the same as the Ice one and only increases once per target. Iberia observes the guys on the ground and comments that our protagonist knocked them all out. With a smile, he says he thought the fight would be tough and didn't imagine Itsuki was so strong. The first henchman asks who he is, because he's definitely not a level 0, and Iberia wants to know about the skill. Iberia approaches with a sinister smile and asks, "We?" leaving the young man confused by the question. With that, the blonde declares that together they are the Double I duo and will be the strongest in the north. Our hero ignores him and drags him away, saying they need to go after Kinoshita, and the blonde complains. The henchman who is still conscious is confused by the duo's name and thinks it's pretty lame. Far away, a guy with glasses notices the commotion and thinks the so-called level 0 must be done for by now. But he recognizes the beast that belonged to Charles and decides he'll need to investigate that later. He thinks that outside the Alliance, there aren't many people in the north capable of capturing Charles. Another participant overtakes someone and brags about his speed, unlike the brutes. Suddenly, the runner is hit by a purple lightning bolt and screams in pain from the surprise attack. Lying on the ground, he wonders who the heck hit him while he was running at full speed. The guy with glasses then steps on his head with a look of contempt and stares down at him. With his body covered in purple lightning, he says that's what you get for running in front of him. Soon after, he tells his group to save their energy and not let trash like him waste their time. Far away, a woman comments on the arrogance of the District 4 administrator's son. But since it's not against the rules, they can't do anything, and the rich kid brags about his stamina. With the others clearing the way, he thinks he can easily pass the second phase of the tournament. The scene then shifts to the crowd that has already arrived in the inner area and is waiting for the next challenge. Reiji Kinoshita arrives in the inner area and brags about how easy it was to get there first. Suddenly, a mysterious voice shouts his name, and a blue lightning bolt cuts through the sky towards him. The rich kid turns around, startled by the call, and is shocked by what he's seeing. His henchmen panic, and one of them recognizes the approaching level 0 rookie. In the rain, our protagonist and Iberia appear, and the henchman can't believe it's really him. Reiji is shocked, because he didn't expect the two of them alone could defeat his entire group. With a mocking smile, he says his men must have been bribed to let them pass. Iberia thinks he only made it there because of the young man, as he defeated all the enemies. The rich kid says he's busy and will leave someone to entertain them while he moves on. With a furious look, he orders his remaining henchmen to grab the two and finish them off. One of the men scoffs at our hero and says he'll teach him some manners the hard way. Iberia is terrified to see there are at least 100 enemies and doesn't know what to do. But our protagonist calms him down and asks with a serious look for him to just cover his ears. From there, he releases a lightning shockwave that hits all the surrounding henchmen. The rich kid just watches the scene with a disdainful look, not worried about his men. With the jump, the shockwave sends all the henchmen flying, clearing the path. Iberia is shocked by his new partner's power, and Reiji can't believe what he's seeing. Our hero then says it seems his last words weren't very clear to the rich kid. With a cold and determined look, he faces the enemy and vows that he won't let him go anywhere. Far away, Sayo and Riku arrive and comment on the red-ribboned guys who blocked them. Riku is shocked because even though they're fast, he can't believe there are people faster than them. A man named Gaohuo comes in third place and complains about his ranking. A girl named Hanahanyu is in first place, and she's the level 16 rookie. Riku thinks our hero is alone and could be attacked by a group at any moment. Suddenly, Sayo notices someone flew into the inner area and is shocked by the scene. The system confirms that Abiria has arrived in the inner area and is ranked 6th. Lying on the ground, the blonde young man shouts our protagonist's name and tells him to hurry up. Riku and Sayo hear their friend's name and are surprised to recognize him in the middle of it all. With blue lightning surrounding him, our hero faces the crowd, and there's no doubt it's him. With a cold look, he repeats that he won't let the rich kid go anywhere until they settle things. The older man wonders why the rookie is so obsessed with Reiji Kinoshita. With that, Mendo Izumi asks Shoheitan to help his student if the situation gets too complicated. Shoheitan is impressed by the young man's speed and wonders if he could move like that in his youth. Faced with the situation, Reiji gets annoyed and tells our hero to prepare for what's coming. With a wicked smile, he says it's not a battle but an execution, with everyone against one. In other words, it's a 100 versus 1 massacre, and the scene shows the crowd staring him down. Our protagonist is focused because, for him, passing the preliminaries is secondary. His priority is avenging Eicha. Faced with the situation, Reiji goes crazy with rage and shouts for all his henchmen to finish the young man off at once. With that, the crowd of henchmen charges at once towards our hero, who is completely alone. One of the masked guys shouts that our protagonist's head is his and launches a full-power fire punch. But Itsuki stops the blow with one hand, leaving the enemy completely shocked by the scene. Without wasting time, he retaliates with a powerful punch right in the middle of the masked man's face, who doesn't even have time to react. The impact is so strong that the henchman is sent flying by the absurd force of the blow he received. The other henchmen are in shock, and one of them says not to panic because they have the numbers on their side. Our hero faces them and tells them to bring it on, as the screen shows his defense has increased by 10%. He says it's time to end this foolishness and activates his Lotus Burst with all his might. From there, a gigantic fire explosion spreads throughout the arena, hitting all the enemies around. Iberia, Riku, and Sayo watch in shock, and the blonde wonders if that's Atsuki's ability. Elsewhere, a muscular guy and a cat girl comment on the absurd explosion that just happened. The green-haired girl also observes the scene with her sword and a thoughtful look on the situation. The announcer is shocked by the power and wonders how he can use skills outside his class. Eijiha and Shoheitan watch from afar, and she finally understands where his confidence in the stage came from. Amidst the dust, our protagonist thinks he only used 30% of his power because they are human. The scene reveals all the rich kid's henchmen lying on the ground while the young man stands in the middle of the chaos. With his eyes glowing blue, he faces the enemy and says that now it's just the two of them. Reiji is terrified and can't believe he defeated 100 people at once and asks why he's chasing him. Our hero explains that the rich kid attacked him first and hurt his friend, and that he'll make him pay dearly. Angrily, Reiji brags about being the heir of the Kinoshitas and says he levels up easily with his karma stones. He shouts that they're on different levels and launches his B-rank Violet Thunder Cannon at him. His system detects the enemy's skill, and overmimesis is activated, starting the analysis of the attack immediately. But our hero dodges the lightning cannon with absurd speed, surprising his opponent. Lying on the ground, the rich kid can't believe he dodged and understands he has no chance of winning the fight. In a panic, he screams desperately and calls for help from someone named 40 to save him. A man with red eyes appears and thinks it's against the rules, but he no longer cares about appearances. Reiji smiles and reveals that the guy is a level 35 awakened and orders him to finish our hero off. From above, Shoheitan calls for someone named Heitan and gives him a thumbs up to take action. With his mana sense, our protagonist notices someone approaching at high speed as the analysis continues. He realizes it's not just one person, and a brute comes flying towards him. The man lands with a thud, kicking up a cloud of dust, but our hero isn't fazed by his arrival. With a calm look, he just watches the situation unfold in front of him without showing any fear. Shoheitan appears and takes down the so-called 40 with a single blow, telling the young man to continue what he started. With purple lightning around him, our hero turns to the rich kid and says his life has just been cut short. Desperate, Reiji tries to use his family's name to threaten our protagonist and try to save himself, but the young man doesn't care and attacks without mercy, making the rich kid scream in pain and fall to the ground. Looking at the fallen body, he says with a cold look that it was for everything he did to Eijiha. From afar, the blue-haired woman watches the scene and blushes completely at the young man's actions. Her father comments that he defeated Reiji and wonders why he's looking in their direction now. The skill analysis reaches 99%, and he pauses it to reset his stamina later. Suddenly, a familiar voice shouts our protagonist's name, drawing his attention away. With a surprised expression, he recognizes the voice immediately and turns to see who it is. From there, the scene reveals it was Sayo and Rikyu, who have finally arrived to find their friend. With a smile, Sayo tells them to come inside quickly because it's raining heavily outside. With tears in her eyes, she worries that he might catch a cold from all the rain. Our protagonist says it's been a while, and the system announces that he's ranked 7th in the arena. Suddenly, Riku and Iberia hug him, crying, and say they missed him and are happy he's okay. Riku glares at the blonde with lightning in his eyes and asks who he is to be clinging to Itsuki like that. With a confident pose, Iberia introduces himself as our hero's partner, leaving everyone surprised. Riku immediately calls him a traitor, and Sayo comments that it's rare for our protagonist to make friends like that. Iberia asks if they had a duo name, and Riku says he's not a child to think of names like that. Riku says of course they have a name, and Iberia, with a smile, challenges him to say what it is. Our hero tries to stop him, but the blonde shouts that the duo's name is Double I, and that it was hard to come up with. Riku starts laughing and says the name is lame, leaving Iberia furious with his teasing. The announcer declares that 500 have arrived, and the others have been eliminated, and that the second phase will begin. He explains that in the second phase, they will fight beasts alone for 1 hour inside the arena. Iberia is scared by the part about fighting alone, while the others just watch the situation in silence. From above, Shoheitan gets excited and says he can't wait to see what the rookies are capable of. The screen reveals the rankings of the first phase, with Hano in first, Shien in second, and Gaku in third place. With that, everyone observes the gigantic arena, where the second phase of the tournament will finally take place. The group joins the crowd, and Iberia asks if this is really where the next stage will happen. Riku comments that the place is dark and asks his friend if his level is really fixed at 0, and he confirms. He then questions how the young man gets stronger, and Iberia is also curious, but Sayo scolds him immediately. She reminds him that the skills of order breakers are a secret and tells her friend not to worry about them. From above, the tournament organizers observe the participants and prepare to make the big announcement. Iberia is completely shocked to see the important figures who are there to supervise the event. Everyone recognizes Soryu, the veteran Haitencho, and the legendary Izumi Mentu, a true gathering of legends. The announcer explains that in the second phase, they will fight beasts, and the points will vary with difficulty. The screen shows that beginner is worth 100 points, normal 500, hard 1000, and nightmare 5000. After each victory, they will have a 1-minute rest before moving on to the next difficulty. Gakuo says he's going straight to nightmare mode, and his level 13 stats are revealed on the screen. Our protagonist then raises his hand and says with a calm voice that he'd like to ask a question. The others mock him and say he was carried and is now scared of the individual fight. The announcer tells the young man to ask whatever he wants and that he can feel free to do so. Faced with the situation, our protagonist asks if the nightmare class is the highest difficulty of all. With a smile on his face, Shoheitan finds the boy's question quite bold and interesting at the same time. The other participants start mocking him and say a level 0 can't even handle beginner mode. The announcer explains that there is no upper limit, and that he'll understand when he faces a nightmare beast. Riku says it's useless to think about it, because nightmare is level 10, and they'd be lucky to beat hard. With that, the man reveals that the points from here will count for the main tournament and for joining the alliance. The group is shocked by the news, and Sayo realizes she'll need to use that to stand out. Our hero remembers Taiwajan's record of 115,000 points and decides he will surpass it. The announcer then tells everyone to enter the arena and prepare for the start of the combat. The second phase begins, and our protagonist comments that the place doesn't look much different from other stages. Suddenly 10 level 1 Calamity Hounds appear, and he gets excited to fight the beasts. He activates his black ice wall and says he'll finish it quickly since they don't increase his stats. In the control room, the announcer asks if Shu is monitoring him again, and he says he wanted to see the girl Hanyu. With a smile on his face, Shoheitan says our protagonist is much more interesting to watch. Shoheitan gets excited and says here he comes again, and the announcer wonders if he's always this surprised. With a single blow, our protagonist defeats all the hounds in 1 second and earns 100 points at once. The announcer is shocked because it usually takes a few minutes, and Shoheitan says he told him the young man was interesting. He thinks that the hounds are level 1 and that the next enemy is level 8. So a single blow won't cut it. Soon after, the level 8 salamander appears and is worth a total of 500 kill points. The announcer thinks he'll struggle against a creature 8 levels above him, but Shoheitan disagrees. He switches to the multi-screen, and Aja realizes her father wants to deliberately divert attention from our hero. The announcer notes that most participants are still fighting the beginner monsters. The scene shows Sayo and another guy fighting the creatures of the first wave without much apparent difficulty. The only one keeping pace with our protagonist is the green-haired girl, Hanyukana, who is very strong. Suddenly, Ajaha becomes desperate as it seems something very bad has happened to the young man in the arena. Our protagonist is completely engulfed by the salamander's flames, and the situation becomes very tense for him. The announcer wants to call the medical team, but Shuhaiten stops him and says to wait a little longer. But our hero protects himself with his black ice wall. An ice armor appears around him instantly. With his full armor, he charges forward and cuts the salamander in half with his sharp ice blade. The announcer is shocked because he took only 5 seconds and earned 500 points with the victory. With the creature's body on the ground, a screen confirms his time and the points he just acquired. The man wonders why he took the attack on purpose if he could have won instantly. The screen reveals that his defense increased by 10%. And he thinks he needs to use every chance to get stronger. His stats are shown and his defense now reaches 434, with a total of 1,395 points. Without wasting time, our protagonist skips the rest and prepares to test his defense again. The announcer comments that this difficulty tests the participants' speed and combat sense. With that, the next monster appears, and it's a level 10 electric rhino worth 1,000 kill points. Shuhaiten explains that if the horn hits you, your body is instantly pierced due to a lack of defense. And if not that, you're paralyzed by the lightning due to a lack of resistance and can't move. So, to beat the creature, you need to use speed to dodge an attack when it gets tired. But the announcer is shocked and wonders what our hero is planning to do with the creature. Faced with the situation, our protagonist approaches the creature and touches its horn with a chilling calmness. With a smile on his face, he says that horn is perfect for testing his defense again. From there, the electric rhino prepares to attack with full force, covered in a lightning aura. The creature charges with its lightning-covered horn, and our protagonist stands still in its path. The impact of the blow sends him flying, but a bluish aura protects him from any serious damage. In the control room, Aegis screams his name, completely terrified by the scene that just happened. Shuhaiten comments with a smile that the boy's actions are completely unpredictable to him. But he adds that every time, the young man shows results that surpass any imagination. The screen reveals that he absorbed the skill, and his agility increased by 5% with Thunder Wave. With his eyes glowing red, our hero faces the creature and says it's time to settle this. From there, he activates his Thunder Wave, and his agility shoots up by 50% at once. The rhino gets furious with the young man's audacity and prepares to attack again with everything it has. Our protagonist then dodges the attack with absurd speed and passes by the creature. Without wasting time, he gets on the creature and finishes it with an ice blade, earning 1,000 points in 7 seconds. Shuhaiten says he was faster than him in his youth, and that he didn't even use his full power. The announcer then announces with a serious voice that the next creature is the one everyone fears. With swift movements and sharp claws, it tears its enemies to shreds in the blink of an eye. It also has a giant mouth that spits iron chains and swallows everything in its path. To top it off, it has a huge body covered in a tough exoskeleton armor. The announcer explains that because it has all this, it is the most powerful and ferocious beast in the preliminaries. The screen reveals the Purgatory Giant level 15, worth a total of 5,000 kill points. Without a second thought, our protagonist activates his true piercing sphere and launches the attack. The system confirms the monster's defeat, and the sphere's speed increases by 200%. In the control room, the announcer and Shuhaiten are completely shocked by the instant victory. The screen shows that the sphere's speed is now 9 meters per second, with an increase of 900%. They can't believe he took only 3 seconds, and our hero is already preparing for the next fight. The scene shifts to Riku, who is also fighting and facing a creature with powerful fire breath. Sayo activates her water bullet and says that if she defeats the remaining 2, she'll advance to the next class. Gakuwo skipped the rest, and is confident he'll be the first to reach the normal class of the tournament. A camera confirms that the Nightmare class was completed in 21 seconds, ranking him first. Hana Hanyu has already cleared the normal class and is recovering her mana before the next battle. Sayo, Gaku, and Hana wonder who's faster than them, and the girl is sure it's Atsuki. Back in the arena, our protagonist faces the monster's body and says he'll move on. In the control room, the announcer can't believe he killed a level 15 giant with a single blow. With a wicked smile, Shuhaiten orders the difficulty to be increased to see how far the boy can go. The screen announces Phase 2 with 2 giants, and our hero thinks they just increased the numbers. With that, the 2 gigantic creatures charge towards the young man with everything they have. Faced with the situation, our protagonist readies his sphere and says he'll take one of them down while they're screaming. The screen confirms one's defeat, and the sphere's speed increase, which now reaches 1,100%. The announcer is shocked and wonders if that sphere has any kind of power limit, but Shuhaiten explains that despite being powerful, The young man's ability has a fatal flaw. With that, the remaining giant charges with absurd speed towards our protagonist. He's surprised and realizes the creature's speed is greater than anyone he's ever faced. In the control room, the staff comments that giants are mistaken for being slow due to their size. He explains that, in fact, despite their size, they are the fast and agile type. The screen reveals they have no mana, but in return, all their other stats are much higher. Our protagonist then prepares another sphere to try and hit the creature before it's too late. The attack hits the monster head-on, and the screen shows its stats of 300 in agility and defense. But to his surprise, the giant dodges the sphere, and our protagonist is completely shocked. In the control room, they realize the sphere is slow and that the young man used the creature's roar to attack. So, if he doesn't increase the attack speed, he won't advance, and the monster attacks him with a punch. Our hero barely dodges, and the giant's blow creates several shockwaves on the arena floor. The impact of the punch is so strong that it kicks up a large cloud of dust and destroys everything around. Faced with the situation, he realizes the attack can be dodged and needs to change his tactics to win. Shuhaiten thinks that if he continues using the skill knowing he'll miss, it's because he has no more tricks up his sleeve. But with a wicked smile, our hero says that since the creature is fast, he'll close the distance. From there, he activates his thunder wave and covers himself in lightning to increase his speed. The two charge at each other, and the giant prepares another devastating punch with all its might. The blow hits the ground and creates a crater, but our hero continues to advance amidst the chaos. In the control room, Ajao is completely terrified by the scene and covers her mouth with her hand. The announcer panics and says the attack is too strong and orders the rescue team to be called. But Shuhaiten stops him immediately and with a calm voice asks him to wait a little longer. He agrees that the giant's power is immense, but it seems he still has a plan in mind. After all, the giant's power means nothing if it can't hit its target. The monster then prepares to attack again and punches the ground with all its might once more. Suddenly, our protagonist taunts it and draws the creature's attention towards him. The giant turns and is completely shocked to see our hero right behind its head. With that, he launches his sphere up close, and the attack passes through the monster's head with full force. Covered in lightning and with a determined look, our protagonist faces the falling creature. The giant's body falls lifelessly to the ground, and a screen confirms our hero's victory. The sphere's speed increases to 1,300%, and he earns 10,000 points in 12 seconds. In the control room, the announcer and Shuhaiten observe the defeated monster's body in the arena. With a relieved smile, Agia celebrates and shouts the young man's name with great joy. The announcer comments that it's rare to see her so excited about something, and she turns bright red. Embarrassed, she says she was just praying for everyone's safety and it was no big deal. The announcer notes that she's become much more talkative since the last time they saw each other. Shuhaiten then asks why the young man was dodging if he could have won right away. He explains that his normal speed isn't much different from a purgatory giant's, but when electricity starts coursing through his body, his speed increases dramatically. From there, there's no way a purgatory giant's attack can hit him. The announcer says that with his points, first place is guaranteed, but our hero doesn't stop. With a determined look, he thinks that to surpass the strongest, he can't stop for even a second. He then moves forward and prepares for the next phase, which is already starting right in front of him. The screen announces the third phase with 3 giants, and our protagonist gets ready for combat. He activates his sphere and says the first one is already done for as he attacks one of the monsters with everything he has. Shuhaiten comments that as expected, he chose to continue and that he's the guy he chose. He then remembers he went all the way to phase 4 at once, and the announcer is curious. The man says that even with his physique, the limit is phase 3 and wonders how Itsuki will fare. The remaining giant charges, and our protagonist prepares to dodge and counterattack. He dodges the punch, and the blow hits the ground hard, kicking up a lot of dust and rocks. With his thunder wave, he increases his agility, gets behind the creature, and closes the distance. The screen confirms the second monster's defeat, and the sphere's speed increases to 1,700%. With a calm look, he turns and says that as for the third monster, it will be a different story. With that, the third giant opens its enormous mouth and tries to devour our protagonist with everything it has. The creature stares at the young man with its glowing red eyes and chains flying everywhere. Due to its gigantic body and tough armor, the monster seems like a very powerful enemy, but our hero says he'll tear it apart from the inside out and activates his Lotus Burst at maximum power. From there, he launches his fire attack with full force right at the giant's face without a second's hesitation. The skill explodes with great force, and the system confirms the defeat of the level 15 creature. In just 13 seconds, he earns another 15,000 points, and the screen shows his absurd new record. In the control room, the announcer is completely shocked, unable to believe what he just saw. Soon after, he recognizes the fire skill and says it was the same one that eliminated many in the first phase. With the attack, our protagonist spends all his mana, and his tank is completely empty in the process. But he knows that as long as the monsters keep appearing, his passive mana skill will recharge it all again. The screen announces Phase 4 with 4 giants, and his mana immediately rises to 124. Shoheitan hears that if the boy passes, he will surpass him, as only Jin Taiwa has come this far before. With a smile, he says he can't wait to see how far the young man will go as he moves swiftly. Our protagonist thinks that the faster the sphere gets, the greater its accuracy on the final target. He thinks that if he increases the speed a few more times, he'll be able to hit the creatures from a distance. But his mana is limited, and he can't waste a single shot of his piercing sphere. Suddenly, one of the giants roars and shoots several chains from its mouth towards the young man. Faced with the situation, our protagonist prepares his sphere, but the monster is faster than him. The boy is surprised, as he didn't expect the creature to be able to use chains. The chains bind him, and the giant slams him hard against the arena floor without mercy. The impact is very strong, and our hero is thrown to the ground with absurd force. Completely trapped, he realizes he can't move and is in a very bad position. From there, the giant crushes him with its gigantic hand to end it all at once. The pressure is so great that our protagonist's body begins to be completely crushed. The monster then steps back and observes the damage its final attack caused on the arena floor. Lying in the crater, our hero is badly injured, and it seems the fight is finally over for him. In the control room, the announcer panics and shouts for Shoheitan to go help the boy. With a worried look, Shoheitan wonders if this is really the end for our hero. He remembers his past and says the scene is exactly like what happened to him before. Shoheitan prepares to go, but the commander stops him, telling him to wait a little longer. With a calm look, Mendo Izumi says that our protagonist hasn't truly given up yet. The announcer panics and says that if they don't save him now, the boy will surely perish. But the commander assures him that he still has a card up his sleeve to turn the tables in his favor. The white-haired man asks how he knows, and the commander says it's in his eyes. The young man's eyes glow with determination, as he still hasn't accepted his end at all. With a blue aura around him, he activates overmimesis and resumes the analysis he had paused. He remembers the fight with Rigi and the activation of the analysis on his Violet Thunder Cannon skill. The young man purposely stopped the analysis at 99% to use it in a moment like this. From there, the analysis reaches 100%, and a blue aura completely envelopes his body. The screen confirms the acquisition of Thunder Wave, and a blue lotus appears in the control room. The woman with glasses wonders if Aja knew about this, and Shoheitan is surprised by the scene. The screen reveals that the skill absorbs B-rank lightning attacks and increases agility by 100%. In addition, he gains 20 points in all stats and has his health and debuffs fully restored. With that, the blue lotus explodes, and our hero prepares to show everyone his new power. With his body covered in a blue aura, our hero says the warm-up is over, and the fight is about to begin. The announcer is shocked because his stats are absurd, and he healed faster than a healer. From there, he defeats 2 giants at once with his sphere, and the attack's speed increases. In 31 seconds, Phase 4 ends, and he earns 20,000 points with a confident look. With that, another giant is defeated, and the speed of his sphere continues to rise relentlessly. The screen reveals the speed is now 27 meters per second, with a bonus of 2,700%. Without giving them a chance, Phase 5 ends in 57 seconds, and he earns another 25,000 points. Soon after, Phase 6 also ends in 1 minute and 34 seconds, with another 30,000 points. In the control room, everyone is completely shocked and speechless at the scene they are witnessing. Sitting on a pile of bodies, he wonders if this is hell and who the real monster is. Lying on the ground, he wonders why the giants aren't appearing for the next phase anymore. The announcer says he never expected something like this, and is completely shocked by the situation. With a trembling hand, he prepares to press a large red button on the panel. Faced with the situation, the man says with a serious voice that the fight is over for our protagonist. Because of this, he reveals that the young man simply wiped out all the giants they had. The announcer shouts that he defeated all the purgatory giants they had prepared. Our protagonist is confused because he thought the difficulty had no defined upper limit. Standing on the bodies, he thinks the difference between him and Jin Taiwa can't be that big now. He also accomplished his goal of increasing the sphere's speed, and the screen confirms 12 kills. The sphere's speed is now 38 meters per second, faster than most cars. With a blue aura around him, our hero prepares for whatever comes with a determined look. The scene focuses on his eyes, which glow with a green light and show his great determination. Tired, he realizes he forgot something important because he expected more enemies to appear. A blue karma stone appears because he doesn't level up, and the experience turns into an item for him. In the control room, Shoheitan is shocked because the stone is worth 10,000 points, and the commander explains why. Shoheitan understands that his level is fixed, and that if he were a beast, it would be terrifying. Our protagonist picks up the stone and seems satisfied with the reward he just received. With his objective completed, he says it's time to leave and turns towards the exit. The large metal door of the arena begins to open slowly so he can finally leave. The announcer then informs everyone in the control room that our hero is leaving the arena. The screen confirms his victory with 106,600 points in 3 minutes and 55 seconds. The announcer praises him and says he's pure potential and offers to arrange an instructor for him. But our hero refuses the offer as he already has a teacher, and the man says he doesn't understand the situation. With that, Shuhaiten appears and tells the old man to stop bothering the young man who just wants to rest. Itsuki thanks him for taking care of Kinishida's henchmen, but the man says he only punished the rule breakers. He then reveals that since our hero is Mendo Izumi's student, there was no reason not to help. The announcer is shocked by the news, and our protagonist thanks him for his help in the arena. With a smile, Shuhaiten confirms the information while the commander watches from afar. Our hero then approaches and calls the commander sensei, leaving the announcer even more shocked. The woman with glasses congratulates him and asks if he's injured and offers to have Aja treat him. He says he has no injuries, but his stamina is low, and he'll recover with some rest. The announcer comments that it makes sense for him to go so far, and Shuhaiten remembers that the other student also did well. The man asks if Taewar reached Phase 6, but the announcer says the maximum was Phase 4. Shuhaiten tells them to just watch, as the second phase has begun for the other participants. Another participant completes the hard class and says nightmare mode is impossible for him now. Meanwhile, Sayo is fighting and thinks the next difficulty is impossible as she's running out of mana. In the room, the announcer says that Riku and Sayo stopped at the hard class, and Shuhaiten praises their effort. Our protagonist asks why they didn't leave, and the man says you can only leave in special cases. The scene shifts to Gakuo, who says with a smile that it seems others have reached the nightmare class as well. The announcer comments that with his rare artifact, Gakuo should be able to defeat at least one giant. He then praises the Shikigami user Shin Akagami for having come so far in the tournament alone. Her small creature then begins to transform and releases its true, complete, and terrifying form. The monster becomes gigantic and intimidating in front of the girl, showing everyone its absurd power. From there, it attacks with a powerful punch that demonstrates all its brute force in the arena. Ajiha explains that her Shikigamis don't change form and that those are full of mysteries. Our hero thinks of his wolf Mort and realizes that Shikigamis are very strong and that he has neglected him. Seeing that his friends have finished, he says there's no more reason to stay there and decides to leave. But as he was leaving, our protagonist notices something strange and is surprised by what he sees. He sees his partner Ibiri in red armor and with an incredible aura of power around him. The blonde reveals that it's the strongest epic armor his father, the Artisan King, has ever created. The screen reveals that the epic armor gives 100 points in attack and agility and increases every minute. Iberia says the artifact has a will of its own and chooses its master, and he struggled to get the item. But the young man knows that if he uses the armor for more than 15 minutes, he will suffer a penalty. With 1 minute of use, his stats have already increased by an extra 120 points in attack and agility. He thinks that the Nightmare class announcement was definitely Itsuki, and that he can't disappoint him. He then charges forward and shouts that together, they are the double-eyed duo and they're unbeatable. Our protagonist watches his partner with a smile and says he's looking great. Suddenly, a voice announces to everyone that the second phase of the tournament has finally ended for them. The announcer explains that only the top 10 advance and the first 2 receive a special reward. Lying on the ground, Gakuo is confident and says the special reward will definitely be his. With a serious look, the announcer says he will announce the top 10 qualifiers of the second phase. The screen reveals our hero in first place with over 100,000 points, leaving everyone behind. The others are shocked because Jin Taiwa only scored 60,000 and wonder how many giants he killed. Gakuo can't believe he came in third and wonders who the heck this Itsuki Tenma is. The green-haired girl, who came in second, says she would love to have a fight with our hero. Sayo is shocked by the power difference between them and wonders if she's really cut out for combat. Aja announces that the preliminaries are over and that our hero came in first in the entire country. She feels her father's happiness, who sees in the young man the new sun of humanity shining brighter than ever. Lying on the ground, Iberia celebrates and says with a smile that he already knew his partner would come in first. But he adds that he also did well enough not to embarrass the duo's name. Our protagonist helps him up and says he did a good job and that he was quite surprised. With a funny face, the blonde young man is overjoyed with the compliment he just received from his friend. The announcer then officially declares that the preliminary event has finally come to an end. With that, our protagonist carries his tired partner on his back and takes him out of the arena. The scene then shifts to District 1 of the southern continent, where an old man with a white beard is meditating. A soldier complains about having to watch the old man meditate, and another tells him to shut up and show some respect. The man reveals that this is Bargar, the commander of the southern continent, and that he is a true prophet. The soldier questions why he doesn't predict where the monoliths will fall so they can prepare. The masked man explains that although he only foresees a part of the future, he is on the same level as Mendu Izumi. He then reveals that the accuracy rate of his prophecies is 100%, and the old man wakes up. His servants help him up, and he screams desperately that the northern continent is in danger. With a terrified look, he reveals that a massive beast attack will occur, with one above level 100. The scene then shifts to a tree with blue leaves swaying in the wind during a starry night. Back at the arena, the commander notes that our hero's total stats have finally surpassed 1500. He explains that normally awakened gain 50 stat points each time they level up. With that, he says that the 1500 points put him on the same level as a level 30 awakened. The commander adds that his agility and defense can increase infinitely with his skills, but his attack power is the only thing that can't be increased, and Riku shouts that the food is ready. Faced with the situation, our protagonist turns towards the voice with a surprised look on his face. Sayo and Riku appear, and the guy with glasses says he prepared a bunch of his favorite dishes for him. Our hero decides to put that aside and thinks he can get an attack skill with overmimesis. At the table, he comments that it's been a while since he ate Riku's cooking and seems very satisfied with the feast. Our protagonist then realizes his partner isn't there and asks the group about Iberia. Aja explains that she healed him, but he was exhausted from the armor, so he's still sleeping. Riku is shocked that a level 7 cleared the nightmare class that neither he nor Sayo could beat. Riku asks if it was his food that scared her, but the girl points behind him in fear. A shadow with a red eye appears behind the guy with glasses, who hasn't noticed the threat yet. Drooling, the dark figure says it wants food and seems too hungry to wait. Suddenly, the shadow, which was actually Iberia, lunges and throws itself at the table to devour all the food. Riku gets furious and complains about the scare and asks why the blonde is eating at their table. With the bowl completely empty, the blonde young man faces Riku and seems ready for a fight. The guy with glasses breaks into a sweat, scared, and asks if the boy really wants to fight him. But Iberia just smiles and says the food is delicious, with his face covered in crumbs. Riku brags and says his food restored the young man's energy, which is why he's feeling good. The blonde compliments the food and says Riku should become a chef, and he wonders if that's a compliment. Mendu Izumi then interrupts and says that since they want to be saviors, he has a question. In front of everyone, the commander then asks what is the one thing they fear most in the whole world. Riku says his dream is to be a savior to save money and travel the world, eating very well. So, his greatest fear is getting old because he wouldn't have stamina, and his sense of taste would become too dull. Just thinking about it gives the guy with glasses chills, and he despairs at the mere idea. Sayo says she was born into a family of doctors and was therefore raised in a hospital. Since she was little, she saw many people suffering from all kinds of illnesses, big and small. The scene shows a sick person on a stretcher with a very frightening appearance to the girl. With that, she ended up developing a trauma and now fears even a simple cold. Our protagonist understands that's why she ran away when he sneezed the other day. The scene shows the young man sneezing, and the girl getting scared and running away, afraid of his germs. Mendu Izumi explains that Awakened live twice as long and rarely get sick, so she's safe. The commander then turns to Iberia and asks for his turn to answer the question. The blonde says that before, he was afraid of not passing the preliminaries and not getting the artifact. But now, with a smile, he reveals that his greatest fear is not being able to fight alongside Itsuki. With that, Iberia turns and asks what our hero's greatest fear is, leaving him speechless. The others are curious because they can't imagine what the strongest young man would be afraid of. He reveals that after his parents passed away, he was very anxious about how he would survive. With that, he was overcome by negative feelings like anger, sadness, hunger, and helplessness. But everything changed when Sayo and Riku appeared and helped him overcome that difficult time. His friends ask if he has a cold and invite him to eat something tasty to cheer up. With tears in his eyes, our protagonist says their kindness pulled him out of that negative world. After that, he remembers meeting Commander Mendu Izumi Ajaha and even his partner Iberia. With a calm look, he feels he has finally gained true companions to fight by his side. He then adds that it actually feels more like his family has just grown. With a smile, he says it's been a long time since he felt this relief and wishes it would last forever. Faced with the situation, he reveals that more than anything, his greatest fear was living completely alone. Agia notices that his aura is gentle and calm, very different from the scary vibe from before. Iberia gets emotional and hugs him tightly, promising never to leave his side, not even for a step. The commander explains that the question was to see if they would have regrets, as that is forbidden. He adds that a passing without regrets is the ultimate goal of any and every savior. From there, the man tells them to finish eating and informs them that Sayo and Riku will return to the district tomorrow. The next morning, everyone says their goodbyes and promises to meet again at the Grand National Tournament. Our protagonist then jokes with the blonde and asks since when he became so close to Riku. He remembers wanting to ask Sayo something and decides to leave it for the main tournament. Our protagonist then sees Ajaha running towards him and wonders why she's in such a hurry. The girl runs hastily towards her father with a very worried expression on her face. She stops in front of the commander and reveals she has secret information from the southern continent for him. The woman explains that the information is of the highest level and can only be revealed to the strongest, but the commander tells her to tell him everything, as he completely trusts the two young men there. She then reveals Commander Barger's prophecy about a beast attack on the northern continent. Iberia questions if the prophecy is reliable, but the woman says Bargar is the most renowned prophet. The girl suggests they flee, but her father thinks the target of the attack is likely himself. With that, he concludes that if he stays there, he will serve as a perfect bait to attract the beasts. His daughter insists they leave, and our hero offers to fight if they need help. The commander says he has already decided and has a task for the young man, who is worried about his safety. He orders the two to protect Aiden, Iberia's father and the greatest artisan of all continents. The blonde young man is confused by the order, and our protagonist thinks his master wants to send him away. Soon after, the commander turns to his daughter and reveals he also has 3 requests for her. He tells her to announce the attack, evacuate the civilians, and prepare the strongest for the great battle to come. With his eyes glowing red, he orders Heighten to be called and says they will intercept the beasts there. Ajaha informs him that Heighten is already on his way, and her father tells her to get some rest now. The blue-haired woman just stares at her father with a very worried and thoughtful look on the situation. The commander asks if she's curious about why he sent Itsuki away. With a flushed face, she says that as expected, her father can see through everything she thinks. The man explains that if the young man fights, he will expose his cards and the beasts will hunt him relentlessly. He also reveals that the young man has no attack power and that Aiden might have an artifact for him. With this item, our hero would become a perfect and complete awakened, with all his stats maxed out. The scene then shifts and several monoliths fall upon the northern continent, and the attack finally begins. Far away, the two are running, and Iberia says they still have 100 kilometers to go to reach his home. Faced with the situation, our protagonist gets worried and says they need to hurry to get there soon. Suddenly, the blonde young man shouts his partner's name and points at something with a look of astonishment. With a serious look, our hero turns in the direction Iberia is pointing to see what it is. With that, they see a monolith falling right in the middle of the city and realize the attack has already begun. The monolith then crashes to the ground, and a gigantic explosion illuminates the sky with great force. Our protagonist thinks that if the beasts appear now, civilian casualties will be catastrophic. The city's awakened notice the monolith and panic because the beasts have arrived much earlier. A barrier begins to form, and Iberia says that if they help the civilians, they'll be late for their mission. Itsuki knows the blonde is exhausted but didn't stop because of his father and thinks he would hate the idea of helping. Suddenly, a giant stone fist crashes to the ground with absurd force right near them. But Iberia points to the city and says they need to help because without a strong awakened, everyone will perish. With a smile, Iberia changes his plan and says they will first clear the city and then move on. From there, a level 21 fire golem appears and prepares for the upcoming combat. The Awakened think that with 3 level 15s and 1 level 16, they can beat the level 20 creature. One of the men then activates his rock shield and shouts for the others not to break formation in the fight. He prepares to hold off the attack and tells his companions to look for an opening to counterattack. But the golem launches a fire spike that passes through everyone with impressive speed at the same time. The man with the shield can barely hold back the blow and screams with all his might that it's impossible. The others panic because the guy with the highest defense was defeated instantly, and they don't know what to do. One of them shouts that fighting is suicide and that they need to run, but the golem attacks again without giving them a chance. The man with the headband says with a smile that the other guy is the one who needs to be careful. Suddenly, he is shocked to see a dark figure appearing right behind him out of nowhere to attack. Another guy begs for his life and launches his B-rank water cannon with everything he has. He wonders how he got caught but brags about being the natural enemy of fire beasts with his power. His companions watch from afar and suggest finishing off the creature to ensure victory in the fight. But the water elementalist tells everyone to stay away and says he'll finish the monster himself. Soon after, the fire golem revives and the man is shocked while his friend shouts to kill it. From there, the creature launches a massive fire attack, and everyone thinks the fight is over for them. But a black ice structure appears and blocks the flames, and our hero appears right in the middle. Iberia tells them to relax and that they can leave everything to the powerful, double-eyed duo. Our protagonist tells his partner to evacuate the civilians, and the system confirms the defense increase. Iberia says they're not saviors yet, and one of the guys calls him arrogant for talking about Jin Taiwa. The blonde argues with the others, who say they didn't ask for help and were going to win anyway. One of the men then wonders if the ice armor our hero is wearing is some kind of artifact. With a serious look, our protagonist remembers something his master said before they left. The commander warns that his black sphere is powerful, but the casting time is too long to be useful. He then advises him to keep the ability as a trump card for decisive moments. Back in the fight, our hero realizes he can't use his sphere there, and the civilians get excited about his arrival. With that, he decides he'll have to crush the fire golem with his brute force to win the fight. From there, the young man charges and lands a powerful, lightning-covered kick right in the middle of the creature. The system confirms the activation of Thunder Wave, and he climbs onto the monster's head with great speed. Without wasting time, our protagonist discharges his energy and sends the golem flying with the impact. As the smoke clears, the fire creature is completely stunned by the blow it received. Covered in blue lightning, our hero prepares to attack again with everything he has stored up. He then lands a devastating punch on the monster's chest, and a large explosion occurs in the city. The civilians think the creature was already injured, and that the young man only won because of that and his age. The man who was fighting before is completely shocked and speechless at the scene he just saw. He can't believe a level 20. One golem couldn't even touch the young man and wonders who he is. After the dust settles, the awakened realizes the golem was defeated, but the boy has disappeared. He brags, saying the young man only won because they weakened the creature, but admits his speed was absurd. He thinks the young man's power rivals a level 30, but it wasn't enough to take down the golem instantly. The screen reveals his agility, defense, and magic stats with the bonuses from his active skills. Iberia comments on his partner's speed, and our protagonist says that without power, speed is nothing. With a determined look, he realizes he needs to increase his attack power somehow. The blonde is surprised because he never thought of that, but says there's a way to solve the situation. With an excited look, he asks if his partner really wants a way to increase his attack power. Iberia reveals that his father's warehouse is full of artifacts, and that he will definitely give him one. He starts imagining our hero in incredible armor and drools at the idea. With a funny face, our protagonist asks what he's imagining, and the blonde tells him to hurry up. With that, the young man picks up his tired partner and says that if he doesn't push himself, he can fight if needed. Our protagonist then carries him on his back and runs at high speed with him completely terrified. The scene then shifts to night in the forest, and the two arrive at their destination after a lot of running. Iberia stretches and complains that his arms almost fell off, but they finally made it home. Our protagonist asks why he lives so far away, and the blonde says his father prefers the quiet. He reveals that the place is full of traps, and our hero notices the mana traces with his sense. Iberia tells his partner to stay close so as not to activate the traps, but our hero thinks of using his sense. With a smug smile, the blonde young man celebrates because it's finally his turn to lead the way, but he gets too excited and ends up stepping on one of the well-hidden traps. Completely embarrassed, he admits he forgot about the trap, and our protagonist asks if this is really his house. Suddenly, the mana waves become much more intense, and the blonde young man says this is the worst trap. From there, an epic iron golem appears with 500 attack and 300 agility in front of him. Our protagonist is surprised because he didn't expect his old man to have even humanoid artifacts. Without wasting time, the golem charges forward and tries to hit the blonde young man with a very powerful punch. But our hero dodges the attack with absurd speed, and the blow only hits the forest floor. The impact of the punch is so strong that it creates a large crater in the ground and kicks up a lot of dust around. He realizes that even the artifact is stronger, but he can't destroy it because it protects Iberia's father. With that, the young man asks his partner if there's a way to stop this thing once and for all. The blonde explains that the golem's power source is the karma stone located right in the middle of its chest. Our hero activates his thunder wave and says that even though he's weaker, he's still much faster than the golem. With a lightning blade in hand, he charges and prepares to hit the creature's weak spot at once. With that, the iron golem tries to crush him with both arms, using all its strength. The creature's giant fist comes down with full force, but our hero remains still, not moving. With a swift movement, he rips the karma stone from the artifact's chest. From there, the iron golem deactivates instantly and stops moving completely. With the stone in hand, he wonders if that's enough, and a warrior's shadow appears behind him. Iberia gets desperate and shouts for someone named Jusuk to stop what he's doing immediately. A man in armor then appears out of nowhere and attacks our protagonist with his sword in an instant. Lying on the ground, our hero sees the surprised man, who wonders when he appeared there so quickly. The warrior introduces himself as Josuke Bokudo and says he thought they were just bandits. He wonders who the young man is, as he didn't feel his mana until the exact moment of the surprise attack. Our protagonist, on the other hand, thinks the man's sword simply vanished and is intrigued. Iberia introduces him as his partner, but Itsuki cuts him off and asks where his father is. Josuke informs them that the master is in the back but tells them to be careful when approaching. He adds that the old man doesn't seem to be in a good mood, and the scene shows his angry face. The blonde young man runs to his father and shouts excitedly that he finally passed the preliminaries. With a smile, he says he cleared the nightmare class and wants his artifact as his father promised. But out of nowhere, the old artisan slaps his son across the face, leaving him completely shocked by the action. With his hand on his face, the blonde young man asks why the heck he got hit for no apparent reason by his father. His father then shouts angrily and tells him to return the dragon equipment he took without permission. The blonde defends himself, saying he only borrowed it, but the old man warns him of the item's consequences. Angrily, he says he'll never use an item made by him again and runs off, dropping his bag. The old artisan then turns to our protagonist and asks if he's Mendo Izumi's second student. Our hero introduces himself and explains that he was sent to protect him because of the prophecy of the attack. Aiden stares at him and wonders why the commander would choose a boy with such an ordinary appearance. Suddenly, the old artisan's expression changes completely, and he notices something very strange about the young man. With a shocked look, he asks if the young man's level is fixed, and his order breaker stats appear. The man then questions if he's using some artifact to fake his stats, but the young man denies it. He then understands the situation and says it's no wonder his master made that special request for him. The old man says the commander is good at business, and our hero says he was only sent to protect him. Aiden reveals that in exchange for protection, he must give an artifact to the young man, who refuses and says he will protect him. Aiden says he doesn't mind giving the item but wonders why his master chose a flawed product. He then shows a golden crystal that doubles attack power and has a 99% critical hit rate. But suddenly, the old artisan explains that a mysterious crack appeared in the middle of the artifact. Because of this, the item became the broken critical crystal, which increases attack by 10 times but has a 0 critical hit rate. Our hero understands that the item is useless to others because the critical rate resets upon leveling up. With that, he takes the broken crystal in his hands and prepares to finally equip the artifact. Aiden calls him special and says the item is perfect for someone who doesn't level up like him. By defeating beasts, his critical hit rate will reach 100%, and his attacks will be 10 times stronger. From there, he equips the item, and the system confirms the Iron Fist of Destruction with a 0% critical hit rate. Our protagonist realizes that the critical rate only increases if he defeats enemies with higher attack, which he finds difficult. The screen then confirms that the critical hit rate increases by 1% for each stronger enemy defeated. Aiden says the item suits him, and our hero thanks him because his low attack power was a problem. The old man says they both fight for humanity and wonders if the beasts already knew his location. Suddenly, a blade of air cuts through the forest and rushes towards them with absurd speed. Faced with the situation, our protagonist defends Josuke from the attack with his arm without even moving. The impact throws Iberia back, and he wonders what the heck just happened. He is shocked to see a green barrier and wonders why it appeared in the middle of the forest. Aiden says only the commanders know his location and wonders if the monolith was a coincidence. Josuke warns that the beasts are coming, but our hero says they are already on their way. With his mana sense, he perceives something approaching at high speed towards them. Faced with the situation, he warns that there are 6 enemies but corrects himself immediately and says there are 8 in total. From there, several level 14-1 horned demons appear and prepare for battle. One of the creatures tries to attack our protagonist from behind, but he dodges with ease. He then activates his black ice wall and prepares for combat against the horde of monsters. Our hero thinks he can finish them all quickly with his Lotus Burst but hesitates. He knows Josuke can withstand the impact but fears for the safety of the other 2 who are hiding. Aiden and Iberia are in the cabin right behind, and the young man doesn't want to risk hurting them with his ability. He then prepares to fight them all at once with his black ice blades. With a determined look, he thinks that in the end, fighting alone is still the best option. Suddenly, he feels another mana wave, much more intense than the previous one, and becomes very alert. From there, a level 24-2 horned guardian demon appears in front of him. Far away, a demon lord says the first wave of slaves has been sent to the human world. Sitting on his throne, he wonders which of the 8 demon kings should command the main force. One of the demons reveals he has noticed an important person in the human world and orders them to be captured. Yamaraja, one of the 8 demon kings, asks if the capture mission will also be for one of them. But the demon lord says a king could destroy his eye and decides to send a general instead. With that, he gives command of the main force to the fearsome monkey, devouring demon. The creature is one of the 8 demon kings, and it seems he hasn't eaten a human in a long time.